Excellent. All right, we are on, and we can do our
Hello.
remaining fiddling with all this shit while people pile in.
Mm-hmm.
Just hit refresh on this. I did realize that I'm going to have to be managing Discord. I realized something obscure that doesn't matter, but I think I can look at my Discord without it screwing with the game. Yes. Yeah, this seems fine. Excellent.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a delay, I see.
Yeah, delay on the Twitch side.
Yeah.
What's up, Zachary?
Hey, Zach.
Come on in, dude. OMG, we have 9 people already. One of which is my computer, and another of which is probably my phone. That's how it goes in these early days, you know?
Gotta pile in those bots.
Yeah. Nice. Sweet. I might get a beer in the middle of this.
We want to do it just now? Just take a few minutes?
Should I get the beer now? I feel weird drinking a beer right at 5.
Well, it's 5 here.
Right.
Well, I'm there.
Well, 5 here.
But I gotta use the bathroom anyway.
You gotta use the bathroom?
Yeah.
Well, so one of us should be here. Or you do that.
That makes sense. Yeah.
You do that.
I'm gonna hide, so nobody.
What is your bathroom in your bedroom?
No.
All right. How's this display going? We've got a bathroom Vecnin, everybody. What's up, Soren? Sirs further. Per usual. Good to see you guys. It keeps showing me 0 people being in the room. Maybe if I just keep... Oh no, it just goes up and down. Vecnin is in the bathroom. Whoa, what did my voice just do? Vecnin is in the bathroom. Malty, welcome. Where'd my music go? Next. We're doing chill bass. I did put LEDs in the not exactly behind the blinds, but yeah, in the corner of the room. I also turned down the follower alerts. I don't know if I'm going to get any followers. I mean, I like getting followers, but I turned down the follower alerts by popular demand. They were too damn loud. This is pretty cool. I like this music. Might be a little bit loud for other people. I kind of listen to my music loud. You should not bend to the masses. But what is a king who does not love his people, Soren? That's what I ask you. Pretty soon they'll demand a parliament. Good music volume. Sweet. Hello, MCon. Nah, dude, you're gonna hear it. It's just gonna be half as loud. Got a Machiavellian in the chat. What is this song? In Space No One Can Hear You by Abstraction. This is all weird, all like free music. But it's not bad. Damn, Vectin. Hell of a bathroom trip. When he comes back, everyone ask him how his bathroom trip was. In Space, no one can hear how shitty this song is. Come on, bro. He's being very thorough. Yep. Dude, this makes me want to, like, beatbox. Too early. What up, holy weather? Good to have you. I think Critter was saying maybe we'll go to do New York. Maybe we'll do New York this time. Could do whatever. we'll let him pick a plane and everything. Also, yeah, we got this call-in thing today. Sacred Night, welcome. Oh yeah, by the way, there's commands. If anyone wants commands, you can type commands by doing commands. It's all just like Discord link, you know, how to call in. There's a call command or call. Yeah, call. Boom. It just tells you what to do. This is my new technology for the, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, no, we're going to do these calls and we're going to see what it's like because we got the Discord going. We got a lot of people in it already. And, yeah, you can just join up, ask questions, stuff like that. We'll kind of probably vibe a bit and get in the zone when Vecna's back from his very extended bathroom trip. It's very thorough, hygienic bathroom trip. Command, get me a beer from the fridge, damn. I mean, I've been thinking, like, depending on how hard I go on the streaming thing, I want to get, like, a mini fridge. I think that would be a major win. I do have 2 protein shakes ready to go. These are my favorite protein shakes by Premier Protein that does not sponsor Philosophers on Twitch playing Flight Simulator, but maybe someday they will, because I do love these protein shakes. So I got 2 of these. I got my port, and I do have my beer in the fridge, but that's down the hall. Yeah, this music is strange. A little bit like Owl City vibes. I might just put us in a plane. Boom. Did you know that mini fridges often take more power than full-size fridges? That seems weird. What's up, Nobu? Music makes you want to do yoga. You can totally do yoga during this stream. This is a yoga-friendly stream. Who's that I hear? It's becoming Critter. He doesn't have his headphones on yet.
That
headphones, bro. Put on your headphones.
Camera.
Did he change his shirt?
Oh, same shirt.
Same shirt.
Same
shirt. Same shirt as before.
All right, cool. I think that looks good.
Mini fridges have less insulation because they're mini. Oh, I see. So they bleed cold. We were just talking about mini fridges and shit while we were waiting for your bathroom break to complete.
Meat fridges, like a freezer?
No, mini fridges.
Yeah, we're getting deep in the philosophy.
Yeah. No, we got to start on Earth, and then we take off.
Let's think about refrigeration. So the energy levels.
In space, no one can hear you get 1,000 hugs from 10,000 lightning bugs. Thanks, Zach.
Oh, I gotta see here. Got Soren.
So, what
are you saying,
Mr. Critter? Why don't we get ourselves in the air and then we can start. We can take off, and then we'll be properly in the zone. Say hello, chat a little bit, maybe get some calls. Hopefully, get some calls.
Sounds good.
Where do we want to fly today?
Let's go to Italy. I want to go to Italy. We're starting Italy.
Italy.
Like my ancestors.
Bro, like my ancestors. Where are we going? Where are we going in Italy?
Let's start in Sicily and just go up the coast.
Just do like a loop?
Yeah, just go up the coast.
How about Punta Raisi? That seems like a place. Palermo.
Yeah, let's do it.
What type of critter are you becoming? Hold on, wait. We got to pick a destination. I don't know. Maybe like the France, like a big loop, but we won't go straight. We'll do it a curve. So we'll see how far we get.
Why?
It says, I don't know. Is that French? Nice. Just because. Okay, fine.
No, I don't want to go. I don't want to go over the water.
No, we're not going to go over the water.
Go from. Oh, okay.
No. I'm saying we're gonna scoot around. Go to Tunisia. Where the hell's Tunisia? Where is Tunisia?
Tunisia is not in Italy.
Oh, this is Tunisia. I know where Tunisia is because I played a bunch of Crusader Kings, and it's over here. Carthage. What's up,
China.
Texas Gunner? Always good to see you.
Yeah, I'm gonna say hello to every single person once we get in the air.
All right, sick. Okay, I'm gonna pick this place at the top of Italy that looks pretty Italian to me. We got to pick a plane though.
Okay.
We have the option of good planes and bad planes, planes that fly high, planes that fly low, planes that are fast, planes that are slow.
Dr. Seuss. I can't see. Let me look at the cooler ones. These are just regular planes.
Yeah, Henry, you got to introduce yourself to the other mods and make nice. You guys are all in. I have like a solid, kind of like military force of righteous thugs to defend this stream. Sorry, what'd you say, Beckman?
Let me look at the other planes.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll go through them slow. Airbus. We got the 747. These are some kind of jets. I think at least one of these can land on water. That Icon's a weird little jet.
To this podcast.
The extra looks fun.
Everybody hear that? We just had a sub, but it was quieter than usual. Welcome, Fool Jeff. What'd you ask me?
Hey, Fool Jeff. I said the extra one looks fun. Is that a good plane?
Oh, the extra one. Oh, the extra. I don't know. We could try it.
Yeah.
It looks like a bad plane because its max altitude is 10,000 feet, but we could do it. And we can switch mid-flight.
Yeah. It's just, I think it's fitting because I'm pretty extra.
All right, dude.
Yeah.
Sick.
For me.
All right, dude. We're going to start out in Sicily, do a big loop.
So are you like one of these guys that was into planes as a child and like had no friends, or you just like this game?
I should say I was. Nah, dude. I was a dinosaur kid.
Oh, yeah?
I feel like there were like
the
truck kids. I feel like there were like truck kids and dinosaur kids, and I feel like a plane kid is kind of like a truck kid. But welcome, Frank. Thanks for coming by. No, I was a dinosaur kid.
Dinosaur kid. I'm gonna say hello to every single person that said anything here.
Let's do it.
Just bang through it. Hello, Soren. Hello, Pretzel Rocks, if that's a real person.
That's a company.
Maybe Gray is here. Sirs Further. We got MCon, Zach, Holy Weather, Sacred Night. Moobot is a bot, but it can say hello anyway. And we got Nobu Hibiki,
who I recognize from Twitter.
A good Japanese whiskey. We also have Texas Gun, Henry. Fool Jeff is the one that subscribed. Thank you, Fool Jeff. And we got Frank IV. He's the one that did the music for my podcast, which I'm very
grateful no shit.
For. And we got WTMMP.
By the way, bro, I'm lifting off.
What's up? Okay, here we go.
What's up, WTMMP? Welcome. We are off the ground.
This is exciting.
In Sicily.
That seems like a good plane.
Yeah, this is working. I can actually hold on. Well, when we get up there, I can actually set it so people can see the altitude.
All right. So what happens if a 10,000 foot plane goes up to like 20,000?
It falls. This is a stylish plane, though. I think in true Becoming Critter style, we've gotten a very stylish plane.
Yeah, planes are all about aesthetics.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. All the numbers. Only nerds look at that shit.
Yeah, dude. Imagine staring at this when you could be staring at this. I do like all the little dials.
Dials are a lot of fun.
All right, so... You see what?
No, nothing. I was just filling airtime. What were you going to say?
I don't know. I was going to fill some airtime. What's that thing on your left wing? You know, I don't know. There is a little thing on the left wing. I can zoom in and look at it. By the way, that's me and Vecnan in the plane.
Yes, I'm the one in the hat.
You're the one in the hat. All right, you can be the one in the hat today. You can play. You can lead. I'll follow.
So where are you from in Italy? Where were you born in Italy?
So I was not born in Italy, but my ancestors, according to my dad, are from the. Let me remember. There's like a Roman town. So I've got some family in San Benedetto del Tronto, where the like sigil is a woodpecker, which I learned. It's kind of a weird looking sigil thing. And there was a Roman road that went through there. It was known as the Salt Road. And so, yeah, my dad speculates that the peasants, we had kind of peasant ancestors who traded salt or, did some business along that road. But he could just be making that up, by the way. So I don't really know.
Well, nice. I have no idea what my ancestors did in Italy.
Yeah.
I do know where they're from, but I can't tell you because then I'd be doxing myself.
Right. I'm going to turn you up a little bit. By the way, if anybody ever has audio issues, just let me know because I can't tell. I'm relying on you guys to tell me. Oh shit! Wait, we got some call-in. Something happened already. Oh, okay. So, sweet. Fool Jeff has a question.
Do I need to be doing things?
Well, not yet. So, okay. So let's not do call-ins quite yet. Let's do a little bit of a set the ground. So I think a lot of people here. Sorry, this music is like a little bit loud for me. I'm just hitting next. I think a lot of people know who you are, but as if they didn't, because they may not. Why don't we talk a little bit about who you are and how we know each other and how we ended up here? I'm going to try to navigate through these clouds, but if you just want to I don't know, when did we meet each other, dude?
Just introduce myself?
Yeah.
We met each other, well, I think we were in Reno, and there was a gay bar, but it was full of women, and we both didn't realize that it was a female gay bar and not a male gay bar, and so we went in together, and we basically had no other choice. Yeah. So we struck up a conversation, really having no one else to talk to, being at a gay bar surrounded by women.
Right.
And then we went home together, and I got pregnant that night, and that's how our whole family started.
Pregnant with many ideas.
Yes, this is a philosophy allegory. Yeah. But yeah, the bar in this case is Twitter.
Yes.
And the women are our mutuals.
Our mutuals.
Yeah.
Hold on, Henry.
That's what happened.
Henry, how can you tell that my flaps are up? Do you know something about planes?
I'm intently looking at this.
Because I keep going up. No, that's true. Well, that's because we're going over Italy.
No, but do you want me to talk about how I started on Twitter?
Yeah.
It's kind of strange.
Well, what do I want to ask you? Yeah. How'd you end up on the show? How'd you end up on my not podcast, on my talk show?
Well, I'm gonna skip the Big Bang and go straight to. I was really into podcasts for years, and I'm gonna say a name that a lot of people are gonna be scrunch their eyebrows at, but I'm a big fan of Sam Harris's podcast. He's a pretty good interviewer, and he has a lot of interesting people on his show. And while I was listening to Sam Harris, I got introduced to Shane Parrish's show, The Knowledge Project, and then on The Knowledge Project, I believe Tyler Cowen was on there, and I thought he was pretty interesting. So I checked out Tyler Cowen's Convos with Tyler, which is another great podcast. And while I'm listening to all these, they start saying just follow me on Twitter, blah blah blah. So I started following people on Twitter that were just on podcasts. If somebody resonated with me, I'd follow them on Twitter and just see what happened. And then while I'm following these people and these podcasts and everything, I just ended up in like the GMU circle. And while I'm in the GMU circle, like I think Eigen popped up, and then that just like sent me straight into the in-group.
Straight in the in-group.
Give me a second while I am refreshing. Actually, maybe I will.
Are you having some connection thing?
I think I need to plug in my Ethernet.
Bro, you didn't plug in your Ethernet?
Yeah, let me plug in my Ethernet. I'll be right back.
This motherfucker.
No, forgot.
This motherfucker. Didn't even... Bro. GMU is George Mason University, right? That's where Robin Hanson makes his home. Yeah, George Mason University. And yeah, Tyler Cowen. It's like there's a lot of economists who have kind of cool, edgy opinions, at least relative to the kind of central tendency of like academia as I read it, especially Robin Hanson. And yeah, they have their little citadel there. You know, this is a kind of cool plane. By the way, check this shit out. We got ice on the windows. Henry, I told you about this earlier. The ice on the windows. It's a little terrifying if you imagine being in here. Ice window emote when. How the hell would you make an ice window emote? Maybe just like an ice cube? Where did this emoji come from? Stash TK? Wait, is that some modified version of the follower emote? Did you pack an ice scraper before? You know what? All right, we're up in the air. I can zoom in on these buttons without fear of dying, right? I think there's a button on here somewhere that will say, like, you know, ice on Windows. But I don't know which one it would be. If anybody here flies a plane, feel free to let me know which one it is.
All right. I am here.
Wait, Texas... Oh, shit, I'm flying straight at the ground. That tends to happen. All right, we're good. We're back. Welcome back, dog.
What's going on? Not happy with my hair situation.
Bro, we're happy with your hair situation.
Cut.
It's a little bit too cloudy for me. Oh, I guess it's live weather, which is sort of compelling when you have the live weather. Only original mods.
What did I miss? What's going on? But yeah, George Mason University. So like, I listened to interviews with like Kaplan and Hansen and Tyler, and I was like, these guys are interesting. And so I followed them on Twitter, and that's like, that triangle led me to the in-group. And that was it. That was pretty much it. I started following Eigen and Celine, and Eigen followed me when I had like 30 followers.
Right.
And this is probably a little bit more than a year ago.
Nice flex there.
Here I am. Yeah.
Nice flex there.
What about my speed of growth?
No, I can follow you. So by the way, you of all people are on my fucking tail with followers.
Yeah.
You're on my fucking tail, dude. I can fucking sense you. I
Wait,
like.
Why do you say me of all people?
I don't know. It's just you happen to be. Like I fucking sense you. I'm like, yeah, 1700 and whatever. And I'm like, least Vecnan's still at 1650. And I look back and it's like, what? 1700 and what? This fucking guy. But
yeah, I'm up and coming.
Up and coming.
Yeah, I'm like Brooklyn, always up and coming.
Nice. Okay, so then we've talked before a little bit about fashion. We've talked about some philosophical stuff. We've made some videos together. By the way, some cool stone things happening in this part of the world. I don't know what that is. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
It's like
salt,
quarry, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, granite. No, it doesn't look like granite. Pretty good definition here, though. The trees and everything.
Yeah, it's got good crenellations.
Yeah.
Marble, marble quarry.
Great flex. Hey, I mean, I don't know. I didn't mean to flex on anyone.
No, you're good, dude. Yeah, I don't know, man. You're usually in the audience. It's weird. I'm looking in the
That's
audience.
true.
But
Yeah, I'm usually shit posting in the audience.
Yeah.
So somebody's got to take my spot.
So we could go right ahead with the calls if you want.
Whatever you want to do, man.
Whatever you want to do. All right, fuck it. Let's do it.
All right.
All right. Fool Jeff, if you're listening, get in the lobby voice channel when you're ready, and we'll bring you on for a couple minutes. Someone shitpost. I can do that. And yes, Soren has pointed out that I am a frequent crasher. Okay, yeah, Vecna, you want to grab Fool Jeff?
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. I think I can do that. Let's see. Boom.
There we go.
Hey, Fool Jeff.
Hello.
What's up, man?
How you
Welcome,
doing, buddy.
Hi. First time listener, long time caller.
You are the
Nice.
first. You are the
Nice.
first caller, by the way, of all time on Philosophers on Twitch playing Flight Simulator. So this is, in my book, it is an honor to have you, and welcome.
Oh, thank you. I posted here that I went on a date. It was a COVID date. It was a walk in the park. Is that
How far away were you? Did you maintain 6 feet?
well? Until the end, there was a hug.
Ooh.
You didn't even air hug?
It's an air hug.
Fist bump.
We slowly closed the gap. And it was with a woman who has 3 children. And the oldest is 14 years old.
Wow.
And she has never sent them to school.
So
And-
so it's like a homeschooling situation?
No, she said no. It's not homeschooling. They called it unschooling.
Ah.
And she said, we have the natural desire to learn. And learning and learning are separate things. Teachers do the job, they might not be good at it might not act with the kid.
Or we got a little bit of scrambled audio. Maybe wait a second. We'll just say it again.
Oh, I'm scrambled.
A little scrambled.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear him. The problem is I have to hear him to send it on the stream.
Right.
Well, you can also translate.
Oh.
Just go for it.
You have to. You don't hear it. Okay. Well, anyways, it's gonna speed up. That's not gonna help. And she was saying, yeah, no, she doesn't school them. They just follow whatever desire. If they want to learn something, they just like learn it together. And
That's
so I guess since if this is a question format, it's like, so guys, do you regret school? Are you gonna school your children?
I'm gonna school those motherfuckers. You better believe, bro. Yeah.
Soren says hugging should be saved for marriage. Do you think you're being a little bit promiscuous? Talking about just hugging on the street. It's I mean, especially during these times.
Becky,
Yeah.
we don't question the questioners.
You know me, I push for answers.
I feel pretty. I don't feel promiscuous. I feel like I am. I feel so moral and good. I feel good.
Ambitious.
Ambitious.
There we
You
go.
hope to be more promiscuous in the future.
So, on the topic you mentioned, so I don't have kids, right? I sort of feel a little bit hesitant to opine on how people raise their kids, right? I'd be curious to meet the kids personally, because I feel like I can tell when someone's got good energy around learning, and I would want to know, because it would be interesting if they have great energy around learning. They're smart people. They're got interests, all that stuff. It would also be interesting if like somehow they were really bad at everything and like couldn't spell anything,
Yeah, I'm gonna clarify B Key's question here. They asked what's the difference between homeschooling and unschooling. Homeschooling is essentially when somebody is their children's teacher at home. So it's the same kind of school format, same school subjects, but it's just school at home, and the parent is the teacher too. Unschooling is more free-flowing, following curiosity, and the aim is not to like perform on standardized tests and eventually go to college. The aim is to follow one's curiosity and allow a child's nature to hone their abilities. So it's a completely different format, and that's my understanding.
Right.
That's what I understand it.
Why am I getting robots?
You're getting robots
What did I do?
because I'm hearing robots. Let me
Maybe
do.
it's a Discord thing.
Yeah, let me try one thing. I'm gonna feel free to keep chatting. I'm just gonna screw with your thing and hope that the plane doesn't crash.
So I definitely want to make the kid too for both reasons.
Yeah.
It's very interesting and to see maybe what they're interested in and where it talks towards. I think I'm not going to at this point send my kids to school, but that would require, as long as that's economically feasible, I don't think I'll send my kids to school.
Yeah, interesting. I do wonder what's the legality, like how does that work? Like is it
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
right? I do kind of feel like of all, by the way, I did reduce the bit rate, so hopefully that'll help a little bit with the quality.
Yeah.
I feel like of all things that I would be angry at the government for trying to fuck with, it would be like how I raise my kids.
Yeah. And what I do with my body. Like those, you know.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could talk a little bit about my school, which was terrible. I went to this Christian school, and it was like the school of last resort for people. Like the kids that got expelled from all the local schools
Right.
went to my school.
Right. Vecnin High.
Yeah, it was bad. I tweeted a little bit about this in threads and stuff, but I don't expect everyone to read it. But I mean, we did like our failure rate out of standardized tests were like 80+%. Like kids just did not know anything, and we had one guest professor or something that was teaching, and they looked at like our math levels, and they were like, "You are 2 years behind." Like it was bad. But then I went to public school and like caught up.
Right.
But it was so boring. It was basically just daycare, like just teachers trying to put stuff up on a board, but yelling at kids, and then like it was just horrendous.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you got to be careful about those Christian schools, man, because they're not really regulated compared to the public schools.
Or sort of like they don't enforce whatever the thing is. School is daycare. I went to a public school, but I was lucky to go to a pretty good one. I definitely found things to hate.
Sure.
You know? So by the way, we don't have too many people yet in the Collins chat, so if people want to get in there and ask questions, feel free. Otherwise, Fool Jeff, we're chilling, and so feel free to, I don't know, whatever. Feel free to hang out or bounce out.
Tell us more about yourself, Jeff.
Lately I've been thinking about okay, so I've been learning this unschooling a bit.
Yeah.
And I can feel as I've been growing spiritually, I'd been neglecting noticing parts of myself that were like bullshit. Like I have been neglecting the whole process of maybe also keeping up with I don't know what that discriminatory process of like, you know, like I can tell that you're just actually speaking rhetoric to myself, convincing myself of things to like control myself in different directions.
Yeah.
And as I've been thinking about this unschooling last few days, I've been thinking about like unschooling myself in this way of like taking Jeff, the inner kid Jeff, and be like, okay, you're at this school now. Because I was also just reading Awareness by Anthony DeMello, and he talks about a
Oh,
school
yeah.
too about this at the end. There's a
I'm
school.
reading this right now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. There's a school, some sort of, I think it's called Somerville or something, and they bring in kids who were in the old system, and it takes them, and they will reject the new system, and they're like, okay, you can do whatever you want, and they're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna leave. I'm just gonna go home or whatever, and they'll reject it for like 6 months, but after 6 months of like understanding, oh, they really do have the support to do whatever and follow whatever learning, they like start fall into the new system. So I've been thinking about that with the inner kid inside me who's like aggressively still like Donald Trumping me with his rhetoric of like
the inner Donald
the
Trump.
New school. Yeah, the inner Donald Trump. The new school, you can do whatever you want. I'm gonna support you. You don't have to lie to me. You can go ahead and like fuck around and tell me all these things that like you do want to do or don't want to do, but I'm gonna just like that's allowed to do it if you want to under the new school, but and then maybe in 6 months he'll lighten up. I don't know.
I do think we learn like how to self-regulate from authorities at first, where that it's initially our parents, if there's parents around, and from school and things like that. I do think there's something to it, like the inner XYZ. Yeah, psychology, man.
It's a strange thing though, is like when you're yelling at yourself, it's like who's talking to who, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're like, pay attention, right? you're saying pay attention to something else. So it's like there's like a master and like a pet inside. And it's like the same way you'd yell at a dog, you're yelling at yourself, but this is like intuitive, right? So like there's this intuitive concept that inside of us is this animal that does our actions, and that our cognition is controlling that pet or trying to coerce that pet. And that whole dynamic is it's like strange. Like I feel like that interaction alone is insufficient to really explain the complexity of that dynamic.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like when I push, I feel like even playing within that dynamic, I feel like you get rhetoric on both sides. I think there has to be some sort of awareness shift outside of it entirely. But I think like I keep coming back in as I go out. I go out and in. I don't know. I feel like there's an awareness around the entire dynamic that it kind of all sits on, and that too. There's like a weird way, maybe you could call that dimension like love, where I say to the kid too, like you can do whatever you want now, but you can't affect love because it's just there now. It's like underneath anything, and I think a lot of the time his actions or whatever were based on trying to affect love or self-worth instead of me. But now I'm like, okay, actually that's just there. So you can still act in these ways and you can still say, oh, they're gonna affect my self-worth, but it's just there. And so I'll keep talking to him like that, but I still am maintaining this dynamic of sort of conversation between multiple people, as much as I am skeptical of it all the time.
It's interesting how we use
like internal memory systems.
I was gonna say it's interesting that we do use this metaphor of like an inner child, right? Anyway, there's something weird to me about it, because when I've done a lot of introspection, I have found things that are childlike, and I've also found things that are not at all. They don't even feel very. They have this like weird kind of consciousness or awareness, but it would be weird to call them like even like a version of a person, I don't know. I find internal family systems very helpful, but then it's interesting to me when it's limited. But we did have some conversation in the chat about like socializing kids who are homeschooled or unschooled. Like, I don't know. I feel like growing up, I don't want to insult anybody, but at least my belief growing up, I will say, was that homeschooled kids were weird. Like, I do remember this where, like, there was some kid that lived by the playground by my house, and I remember moving him, meeting this guy, and being like, you know, he was first of all too friendly. That was one of the things. It was like the trauma of public school hadn't kicked in yet, and this dude was too friendly, and I was weirded out by it. And so I don't know. This of course, you know, this is like 11-year-old me talking or whatever it was, but I wonder what there is to that.
You're like that rusty old worker that's been ground down, and the new kid that's like bright-eyed comes in and is like, "Hey, this is fun, guys." And you're just like, "You don't know, you don't know the horror."
Yeah. Well, no, it's like the prisoners become the wardens or whatever. It's like I'm, you know, I don't want to call socialization trauma or whatever. I don't want to just blend these ideas, but it's like I'm kind of imposing my own sensitivity to weirdness because that's something I was learning at school. You know what I mean? But I do feel like you kind of need to learn that.
I was a, so my social. I grew up in a church and had lots of really good friendship connections with people in the church, and there was people in the church that are homeschooled, and I totally made fun of them for that. And looking back on it now, it's like I'm bringing school to the homeschoolers in that. I'm like,
Right.
That makes some sense.
You're bringing your advanced culture, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I remember the homeschool kids were weird, right? And I was like, I didn't know why they were weird. And I just assumed it was because they weren't very socialized. They didn't really encounter people very much. And so they treated everybody like they were family because they mostly interacted with family. And, but yeah, maybe it's school that beat the positivity out of me, you know.
So it's because we're getting a little bit of robot. We might boot you from the chat for now, Jeff. But you know, feel free to ask more questions if you want. We might bring you back in, and we do need. Boom. We're still here.
Here we are.
Oh yeah, it immediately. Okay, there's some kind.
The frozen picture is still the same frozen picture from like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's okay. We can just have that picture of you.
Yeah.
All right, it's not dropping frames anymore, right? Vectin, did you turn off your camera?
No.
Why don't you do that, just so that we'll just do audio only for now, and that'll help us get all the internet through the tubes. Oh yeah, we got a little picture of you. That looks good.
Maybe
All right.
I can change.
And let me increase your volume. Boop, boop. All right, we'll try this. It is a great shade of green. All right. All right, guys, you got to ask us some questions. We need questions. We need callers.
Let's see here. Oh, we got beeping and what is all this beeping in the is that me?
I don't hear any beeping.
Okay.
Henry Person asks, what does Critter consider himself an expert in?
There was yeah, I'm hearing a beeping here. I think it's just like one of these servers I'm in. Okay. Oh wait, what is this? Sorry. Okay. I'm gonna answer your question.
He's an expert at hearing beeping when it's not there.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm going to start screwing with the weather just because it's fun and I like seeing it look different ways at different times of day and stuff.
Yeah, I'm hearing that sound you hear when somebody messages you, but I don't see the messages up. Anyway, so what am I expert in? I was thinking about this earlier today, and I'm really good at Pokemon. I know a lot about anime. that thread where I like was saying the Pokemon that everybody reminds me of, that was like, for me, that was like some deep Gendlin focusing going on there.
Uh-huh.
And trying to figure out what this beating is.
WTMMP. I'm going to need a faster way to say that. Those letters. There's no vowels. It says, and what do other people consider him an expert in? Can you draw a Venn diagram? I consider you to... I don't know if I consider you an expert in clothing, because I haven't actually seen you in power in action. I consider you likely to be one, though.
Yeah, I would say... I mean, I've been paid like a good amount of money for my knowledge in fashion, so I'm like not practicing, but I do have a good knowledge base in that. Yes.
Yeah. No, that's a sign.
Yeah.
No, it is. I mean,
I'm not being crass or not crass. I'm trying to figure out where this beating is coming from.
Are you having a stroke?
No.
Vogelfree can confirm that Vecna dresses well, but can Vogelfree tell?
Thank you.
I think you probably can tell. Sarah Vogel. Who's the best early 2000s female rapper? Lil' Kim, Missy Elliott, Eve, or Remy Ma? I'm going to need to hear some song titles to answer that for myself. I don't know if... I feel like you might be better on the early 2000s music.
All right, I figured out the source.
You solved the beeping?
Yeah, it was Eigen server.
See that flex? See it? I saw it.
It's something. But okay, all right, you have my full attention.
What are you an expert in, dog?
Oh, I mean, I could talk about fashion for a while. I've read all of Asimov. I wouldn't say I'm an expert in Asimov, but I have read all of Asimov.
That's astounding, actually, if you've actually read all of it.
All the fiction. Yeah, I read it all.
That's like a lot, right? That's like hundreds.
Yeah, it took me a summer, like hours and hours a day.
Wow.
But yeah. But no, what else am I? I'm kind of an expert at Costco. I know a lot about Costco. I am. It's kind of weird. It's like writing an OkCupid profile, right? It's like
right.
As soon as you go to put the words in, you're like, wait, am I good at anything?
Right.
What's wrong with me?
But this is what we talked about in our video. It's like it's hard to articulate.
Yeah.
It's hard to give it a framing.
Yeah, because there's that emptiness, right, where you're like, I'm not actually anything. I'm just do these things and I improvise in the moment, and that's like all of me.
Yeah.
And all this other expert concept, that's not my concept, that's somebody else's concept. So it's kind of like saying, what would your best friend say about you? And you'd be like, I don't know. Like, I don't ask them. So so it's kind of hard to tell. But like, I know what I know more than most people about, I guess. But yeah, I'm more comfortable talking about the meta concept of knowing yourself than I am talking about like what I'm actually good at.
Right. Those who can't do philosophy.
Yes. Pretty much.
Henry says a lot of time people don't know they're experts because they don't think of things that they're experts in as worth talking about. That is totally true.
Yeah, I agree.
It's completely true.
And I haven't read the Asimov nonfiction. I've only read the fiction.
Right. He's got a bunch. He's got like a Shakespeare thing. He's got like a bunch of weird nonfiction that you wouldn't expect. I've heard good things about it.
Yeah. No, I've seen some of it because when I was going down that rabbit hole, you end up encountering everything. And here's the thing: is that like I did it, I think, just because I wanted to have read Asimov, but like the entire time I thought it was just like mildly entertaining. Like it wasn't that huge.
A couple of them are fantastic that I've read. P Zombie likes Foundation. A lot of people want me to read Foundation. I have two friends who are every couple months they're like, "Did you read Foundation?" And I'm like, "No."
Yeah, I enjoyed it on a thematic level more than I enjoyed like the page to page. Like I enjoy Murakami on a page to page level,
Right.
maybe more than anyone. Um,
Hmm.
but even like Anthony DeMello, who was brought up earlier, like each page is just like full of notes. But Asimov, it's kind of like pulpy, but with powerful theme,
Uh-huh.
and that really drives the story.
I've always thought that he's an ideas sci-fi writer more than like a master of the written word.
Right, and he's good. I mean, none of his stuff is really bad. It's just like you will find many authors that are significantly more compelling on a page-to-page level.
Right.
But I don't know. So I feel like that's all I'm going to say about Asimov because you haven't read him, and I don't want to start talking about like the main characters
Right.
and spoil it for you. So
Yeah, I have heard some of the ideas, but you are correct. I do hate spoilers. This is my friends, my real life human friends tend to roast me for this on occasion, and I used to play Metal Gear Solid 3, and my best buddy from high school would constantly be like, Kersey. At the end of Metal Gear Solid 3, the Colonel takes a dump on Snake's chest. And I'm like, and he would just keep saying this shit.
yeah, but now you know that doesn't happen. And there was a part of your brain that thought that was a possibility, and now he's pulling your leg, so it's actually a kind of spoiler.
Right. It's something. It's some kind of psychological attack, that's for sure. It's foul. By the way, there's I don't know if you can hear that, there's a snowblower going outside my window. Is that audible?
I can hear it a little bit.
You can hear it a little bit?
Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with the chat here.
I thought we were gonna have more callers lined up, but we gotta I don't know, we gotta improve the
I think we gotta just talk about it more.
just gotta talk about it.
Yeah.
You could have told us it was the game and we never would have known.
I'm gonna give this another go and see if it works. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna pop back out.
Oh, what are you're gonna do the video?
Yeah.
Yeah, give it a shot. Sirs, further, that is a cruel move. A cruel move.
Doesn't seem to be coming up though.
Tex is gonna call him, but there's a vacuum going in the background. We could listen to your vacuum. No, whatever works.
We could wait 5 minutes. That's also fine. Wow, Vogelfree was the
Bumblebore. By the way, we're making our way across Sicily. I like this run because you can kind of see where you are on the map.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it's too zoomed in. You go to like Russia and it's just green, a big green box.
Yeah, P Zombies asks me what anime am I watching right now. I'm watching Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm watching Attack on Titan. I'm watching Haikyuu, and I think that's it right now. But 3 is good. 3 is a good number.
Are you an expert on anime?
Me? Yeah, like I know a good amount.
Have you seen? Did you see Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood? I'm going to ask you some of the basic.
Sure. Yeah. I've seen enough maybe. Yeah. I've seen Ping Pong. Yes.
Cowboy Bebop. I'm asking you about the ones I like. You've seen Cowboy Bebop.
Sure.
Have you seen Fate? Vogelfree. What's that one we watched? Fate. Whatever.
Fate Zero. There's Fate Stay Night. There's actually a lot in the Fate series. I haven't seen all the Fate, but the Fate Stay Night and Fate Zero are the top 2.
Fate Zero. I actually love
Ultimate
Fate Zero.
Yeah, Fate's really good. Although they have way too much now. Like I haven't seen Babylonia. I've seen Berserk. Texas Gun is bringing it up, and yes, Vecnin is just like my handle most of the time. Becoming Critter is like my podcast. But what did they ask about here?
in Fate Zero, they have these historical figures show up, and that I love that. I was in love with that.
That all that stuff is really fun.
We got more questions. JoJo, that's the other one that my friends are like, watch JoJo, you son of a bitch. I watched, my ex really wanted me to finish JoJo. Maybe I'm not finishing it in protest. I fucking watched like 6 of them or something like that, and I was just like, this is too crazy. Like, I can't even like get into it. It's so goddamn crazy.
JoJo's a lot of fun, and I love the way that they it's just like deep satire, but the style is like very refined, so that even though it's kind of crazy, it's like the style and the themes are tight enough that it allows intense improvisation within the theme. It's kind of like when you know enough of who you are, you get to have fun. But if you don't have a voice, then you can't really pull off anything. So JoJo's really good at that kind of improvisation.
Re. That's what I remember. People saying re. Is there one where they represent European countries with characters? My friend was going on about it a while ago. I don't know. What's that one where they've got the Prussian allegory? My plane is doing something weird.
Are you thinking of Saga of Tanya the Evil?
No. It's my plane is dipping. Hold on. It's time to turn on the display so I can see what's happening with my plane. No, there's Prussian stuff, and there's like a big war. Vogelfree will know what I'm talking about. Turn that on. F11 escape.
It's not Attack on Titan.
No, it's like Yoji Senki. No, it's less weird than that. Legend of Galactic Heroes.
Oh, yeah, Legend of the Galactic. That's excellent. Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's long, but it's like how would I put it?
The throttle's at 100%.
It's like a historical epic. In space.
Guys, my plane is just falling out of the sky. Look at the bottom left. That engine thing is just not... What is happening? The throttle is 100%. What do I gotta fucking hit the ignition? Did you stall? Yeah, I guess so. What is stalling? What is that? Refuel?
Yeah, go straight down and then pull out of it.
Yeah. Straight. I'm gonna start with going straight down. All right. We're gonna land in the home of my forefathers.
The plane weighs 50 pounds.
You gotta bail. Pause and refuel. How do you pause and... All right, we're going down. Ooh.
This happens Why'd you go into the trees? That's not where you want to go.
You can set your fuel to 0. Why will that help? Why does setting my fuel to 0 help? Here we are, man.
I like that we crashed, like, for sure.
No, we super crashed.
Like a legit crash.
Set your fuel
Not one of these.
See, if you...
on the ground crashing.
I got this. Let me just use the developer mode. But look, my fuel's at 4%. Sorry, whatever. I gotta go. Fuck you. Thanks, Henry.
I'll be 1 minute.
All right. But why won't the engine turn on? That's all I want to know. No one here knows anything about this game. I definitely don't know shit about this game. This is so weird. There's something real weird happening. How do I just, like, restart the car? Nah. You in red, my friend. Ain't that the truth? Failure and damage. Navigation. We might have to respawn. In the music it says, I'm falling. Maybe we didn't bring enough gas. F indeed. Alright, well, we made it across to this part of Sicily. Did we just lose Vecnan again? Did he just go to the bathroom or whatever? Yeah, he did. Main menu. Let's try this again. We got to that
Well,
part. Yo, dude, I'm just getting us back in Sicily with a functional automobile.
Sure.
We've gone
But,
tip to tip of the football. That's right.
I'm gonna riff on anime a little bit because I don't want to. I don't want to leave that with just shit I've seen before.
Well, we actually had a question,
Okay.
a caller, and we'll bring Soren in momentarily. Let me just set up our arrival. Same plane, new plane.
Let's get something with more oil in it. Is it oil that they use in these?
Sure.
Yeah, let's use more oil.
Oh, endurance. I don't know.
It's range, I guess. Higher range.
Oh, yeah. 600 NMs. Nautical miles? I'm always hoping people will pick the fighter jet, but it's just sort of extreme. We can do whatever.
Let's do it. Let's give it a go.
You like the fighter jet?
Fighter jet, sure.
Ermaki. Excellent. Let's make it daytime in Italia. All right, let's bring in Soren. Hey, Soren.
Hey, Soren.
Hello.
How's it going, man?
Mike good?
You are good. I'm going to turn you up a little bit. Sweet.
Okay.
Welcome.
Do you think that if you get really good at flying, that your streams will become less interesting because people will think you'll never crash?
You know, I feel like if I got that good, I would learn how to press all the buttons. Like, I feel like the more likely outcome is that I get really good at pressing all the buttons and explaining what that means or something, and I could be like a high-skill flyer. But, I don't know, there is some risk of that.
Okay. So my question was, like a year ago or so, I was listening to some podcast, and the people kept talking about how true to life the novel was, even though it was fiction, and how it made them think about the people in the novel in a different way from how they used to think about the people that were like them. They were like more empathetic towards them now that they had read this novel that was completely fiction, not based on real people at all. And it kind of relates to one of your videos about how fiction can shape your soul.
Right.
Like, I think this kind of fiction that is shaping you like this is like staring at cute puppies or stuff on the internet all day, and it's like you're being overstimulated by stuff that isn't real. Or, I mean, it's not going to correspond to reality at all, because in reality you're not going to meet any people that are so you can't like get inside other people's heads like this, and so
I'm going to connect
this to the real life.
Yeah, I'm going to actually connect this with anime because I actually know how to dovetail this, and it's that in fiction you have a way to kind of subvert expectations and make people think about situations that they are kind of forced to contend with. And this is very difficult to do in nonfiction, obviously, because the reality is guiding the story. Whereas with fiction, and of course that's not true in all nonfiction because you could be choosing, a variety of things. So this isn't cheaply true, but like if it's a memoir, then it's going to be true. But in anime, for instance, there's a lot more exploration in themes. So, for instance, you might have this cute little girl that meets this kind little robot, and they go into this cave to try and find her mom, and then it ends up becoming a horror. And like that kind of subverts your expectation of what's going on there, because they begin to pull the strings of all of your deepest fears through the context of like this cute little girl and her robot friend. So what fiction is really doing here is that it's playing with your expectations in a way that allows you to kind of, I guess, either face your shadow or do some kind of work that is within the play of the writer themselves and not reality generally. Right, so there's more freedom there.
Well, because there's an arbitrary control over the scenario in fiction, right?
Right.
So you can like reach themes that you wouldn't necessarily reach in your life. Soren, let me make sure I'm understanding your question. What is can you restate it a little bit? and I can give a take.
Well, the thing I was thinking about was these fiction novels are they're changing how people think of the world, even though what they're coming into contact with that is shaping them completely wrong about everything and the way people act and all that.
Right.
But like people are sitting inside their houses all day, not interacting with each other and just being shaped by fiction, and so they're like, I'm not sure.
There's sort of like a question, at least the way I can take that is there's sort of like a question about, is it harmful maybe?
Yes.
There's one thing I'll throw out there, is one of my favorite quotes is by Emerson, and I can find the exact quote at some point, but Emerson says that in so many words, I'll paraphrase, I don't know if I can quote him, but that the greatest artists make their own works look bad in comparison to truth, because they're so good at showing the truth that the flaws of the work are highlighted, right, by the proximity. So he thinks that, like, when you read Shakespeare, you end up sort of seeing the flaw in, even though Shakespeare, is greatest of all time or whatever, you end up seeing the flaws in the writing because he guides you so successful to some kind of truth. And it's an interesting question what type of truth that is, right? Because it does seem like there's a way in which you can have more truth in, a story about aliens that don't exist or whatever, than in a, I don't know, in a sitcom, which is like, it's all normal shit. But like, how truthful is Friends, right? Is life like that? It's sort of not the same thing as something that sort of reaches more deeply, even if it's not literally accurate. Do you have a take on this side of it, Critter?
Well, I'm thinking, like you're talking about how people are like, oh, this is true, even though it isn't corresponding to anything they've ever experienced before, and it's just like a floating signifier for I don't even know what it is. They're just people are saying something true.
We might have gotten some robot scramble.
Oh, is it any better now?
It's a bit better. Uh-oh. We got a huge quote by Vecnan. Man should learn to detect and watch that gleam of light which flashes across his mind from within, more than the luster of the firmament of bards and sages, yet he dismisses without notice his thought, because it is his. In every work of genius we recognize majesty. Great works of art have no more affecting lesson for us than this. They teach us to abide by our spontaneous impression with good-humored inflexibility than most, when the whole cry of voices on the other side. Dramatic typing. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Yeah, true in some meaningful sense. I feel like the truth in fiction is something to do with like the relationship between abstract concepts, which is an abstract way to put it.
So here's a question, Kersey.
Yeah.
Will to power versus will to truth, head to head. What does that conflict look like for you?
Will to power versus will to truth. I don't usually think in exactly those terms. Can you tell me more about why what that means to you, and then I can bounce off that?
Sure. So will to power, in my interpretation, I've got Vogelfrey on the edge of his seat.
Yes.
But
Vogelfrey, we would love for you to call in about Nietzsche.
Yeah, will to power, from my interpretation, is basically that power is a priority in the way that we move through the world, and not, I think priority might be too light of a word, that basically everything is power dynamics, and so if you are failing to interpret the world through power dynamics, then you are missing out on something that is very real. Whereas will to truth is basically that we are seeking truth. And that power is like a way to get at truth, and that delusion is bad.
I think that we are seeking reconciliation with the divine, and that power and truth are both ways to that. That is my belief.
What does divine mean?
Not so easily conveyed, but I tend to refer people to Emerson. I tend to refer people to the Oversoul by Emerson, because there's something in it that even I've found that very kind of anti-spiritual sorts of highly intellectual people will tend to be amenable to something in that framing. But I mean, okay. So here's a question of whether the divine is a state of mind or whether it's a state of reality.
Sure.
Right. If it's a state of reality, then we need utopia in order to attain that resolved state. If it's a state of mind, then maybe we just need to attain some. It's like oneness, right? It's like the things that are gone for in in Buddhism and different sort of mystical traditions. The Stoical approach, you'll actually have Marcus Aurelius talking about God, or in some translation, I don't know, Zen, yeah. So I think that like truth seems to bring us closer, and then power has something to do with the worldly side of it. I mean, there's sort of these depraved versions where people believe that having more stuff or having more domination over others. Oh, by the way, Soren, thank you for the question. Yeah. People will think that having more like domination over other people or having more stuff is going to sort of bring them that oneness or that resolution, but it won't, right? And it's just harmful and takes us further away. But at the same time, I think power can be used for good.
Got any thoughts on this, Vogelfree?
Yeah, Vogelfree, welcome, my dude.
Yo. Yeah, I mean, I guess, how am I coming through, by the way?
I'm going to turn you up.
It sounds echoey. Yeah, it sounds echoey.
Well, the first thing I would say is that, and I think both Nietzsche and Aristotle's interpretation, power is good. Both are ultimately good. It's like virtue is sort of power in its purest form. And the key to understanding Nietzsche is to understand that by power, he does not mean domination. You might think of, when you talk about the will to power, I like to say that it's not the will to have power. These are actually very different things. Where for Nietzsche, it's like a dancer or a surfer is connecting themselves to this live sort of thread of power that's out there in the other somewhere. So it's like you are letting the music move you, as in you are being connected to some external power. I mean, that's really important for understanding Nietzsche's philosophy, because he talks about the importance of solitude. He talks about the importance of generosity. He talks about the importance of like dance. This is not like a philosophy of domination.
Right. Why is that called power? I mean, maybe this is a question about like the German language or something like that. But
yeah,
why do you think that? How do we end up with that phrasing, which sounds like domination-y?
Well, I think that Nietzsche was waging essentially like a mimetic war to try to not have people conceive of goodness in the wrong way. And I mean goodness in the sense that like you and I would use it, Chrissy, because you have this thing, which is goodness in the sense of like you're not harming anyone, you maybe can't harm anyone,
right?
You're just like this fluffy, like useless, like entity that can't defend anything.
Being harmless.
And Nietzsche was fighting against that and against like what he would term as slave morality. And so it's interesting because people say this, they're like, okay, why use this word? And the thing I would point to is our own language and like how we use words. You sometimes run across these things like love is the most powerful thing in the world. Like the thing that we say, and on some level it's a cliche, but the cliche exists for a reason. People will say that the ocean is very powerful. Clearly, the ocean is not powerful in the sense of being part of some hierarchy, like human social hierarchy of domination. But I think that, as I see it, that people who thrive on sort of domination and greed and acquisition want to misrepresent what power actually is. They want people to think that power is all kind of this one thing, that the hero and the villain are fundamentally equivalent to each other. It's like, you're just like me. Look, we both wield power. And the hero is saying, no, my power is different. My power is fundamentally creative in its nature, whereas your power is fundamentally domineering.
Right. Well, you're talking about a surfer, and a surfer isn't, or a dancer isn't really creating anything except for that improvisation in the moment. So, like, we're not talking about productive as far as like city building is concerned, right? We're talking about something that's more like it sounds like a lack of resistance. Like one is working with, I'll use the word nature here, although Nietzsche would probably disagree with that, but it's kind of like being a conduit for deep improvisation and being able to affect that improvisation. Would you say that's accurate?
I think that's certainly part of it. But to get to the production line a bit, I think that there's something else important in both like Nietzsche and Emerson and a bunch of these other like existential and romantic authors is pointing out that the way our society ultimately produces things is not just upheld by these sort of like immediate material ends. So it's like you have people who want to contribute to society. They want to contribute to society because they've been inspired by its beauty and its goodness in some way. And part of that beauty and goodness might be the dancers, might be, you know, this whole field of like creation and improvisation and art that a society is constantly creating. So it's like, yes, it's not like you've created a concrete object, but plugging yourself into some flow, you then kind of get the opportunity to then plug yourself into another flow. It's like, you know, you dance, you become a good dancer. Becoming a good dancer causes you to meet your wife. You and your wife build a family. Your sons, you know, help restore the republic or whatever.
Naturally.
That's like a thing that is happening in society all of the time, is that there are these hidden flows of power. And Nietzsche says that, you know, he says that the world revolves silently around the creators of new values, and by that he kind of means the people who are creating these new ways of playing with power. And it's like the people who are into like domination and control want you to think that the most obvious, the most sort of legible forms of power are like what ultimately determines how everything works out, and that's just like not true.
So Nietzsche talked about how like mobs and crowds are insane. Do you find that ironic?
In what way?
In that Nietzsche wasn't a crowd and he went insane.
Okay.
No, I don't find that particularly ironic. I mean, he knew he was going to break. Actually, that's something I find really interesting when you read Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Nietzsche talks about getting ready to die and how he feels like life is telling him to speak his word and then break. And there's a number of other. Yeah, I mean, Nietzsche probably went insane because he had a tumor in his head.
Right.
The syphilis thing was kind of made up by one of his detractors, but the latest sort of looking at his skull thing is that he probably had a tumor in his head, and like probably he could tell at some level that something was going wrong. I mean,
Right.
He was becoming very, very sick in his later years.
Texas Gunner says,
Well,
I thought he
yeah.
went insane because he saw a horse whipped and because he was a big animal rights dude.
Right, that could have been a blood pressure thing, like that triggered some kind of a cascade in his brain. You know, like he suffered from health problems for a long time. You know, it's not like it was a one moment problem.
Why do I feel... Didn't a scene like that happen in, like, Crime and Punishment or something like that?
I didn't read it.
There's one of these books where some horse is, like, treated poorly and then the person who sees it collapses. I swear that's in Dostoevsky, but I've only read that one, and I read it in high school.
It would be absolutely wild if it was. I also have not read Crime and Punishment, but
It is
that would be
legendary.
weird.
It is very good. Yeah, it's very interesting. By the way, Vogelfree, I'm gonna tell you my opinion here because we're in a public place. I think it would be awesome for the world if you ended up running some kind of Nietzsche reading group or if we made a video or just straight up just going into Nietzsche or something like that. I think that would be a good thing for the world, and I'd be down to aid with that if I can.
Yeah, that might be a good thing to do.
For people who don't know, Vogelfrey was on my stream, I think week 2, and we did Finding Atlantis, at Atlantis oriented adventure in a similar part of the world that we're in now. Sweet. Hi, Goblin Odds. I love seeing people that I recognize from the Twitter on here. It's always good. Frank Ivy says the elephant in the room here is ego. I don't know what you mean by that, but I'm interested.
I think you typed that when we were talking about Nietzsche going insane.
It might have been earlier. Nietzsche, like JP, happened to be intelligent enough to create masterworks regardless of being sane. I mean, it's, I just want to throw out there, I am a major fan of Kanye West, okay? A lot of people think Kanye West is nuts, and Kanye West has been hospitalized, diagnosed with bipolar disorder, takes medication, etc. A lot of people, and I've talked to people, someone I know is a psychiatrist, call the guy insane. And I think that I think that the sort of distinction between social, not complying with the regulations of the social environment and, truly off their rocker is elided. That distinction is sort of mushed up. And when people don't live by society's rules, we often call them like medically, there's medically something wrong with them. So I feel like Nietzsche is one of these cases where, like, you know what? I don't have, hopefully I don't have a tumor in my brain, but my writing's not as good. So who's winning here? Like, I don't know.
I would say you being alive is winning.
It's nice to be alive. It's not the highest good. That's my view.
Kersey wants immortality in a sense, and then has been preparing to die for a while.
Immortality, take it. It's yours. That would be from...
Okay, but we can talk about that though. Like, if someone is dead, do they have any goodness? Like, do they have any of that?
I mean, I feel like our societies are built around the echoes, the resonance of the goodness of people who are dead, of the founding fathers and the Buddha and Christ and Nietzsche and all of these people, and their images are like resonating through history and like seems pretty essential.
You know who talks about this is, just because I have this on hand, and if this gets somebody reading him, that would be useful, is early psychologist, not Wilhelm Wundt, who wrote The Varieties of Religious Experience.
Oh, yeah. James?
William James. One of the early... It's like a collection of 12 essays about, like, religious experience, and in, like, the second one, he talks specifically about the sanity question. And, like, sort of what counts. But, Vecnan, what was your... say more about your topic. What were you kind of driving at?
Sure. So... here's the picture that's in my mind for this concept, is that, like, you look up at the night sky and you see the light of stars, and some of those stars are dead. Now, those stars that are dead, like, it's getting a little bit confusing due to relativity, because, like, whose time are we looking at or whatever. But if you were to, like, teleport over there, the star would be dead. And we're just getting the light from the star because we are many, many light years away. And, like, does that star have the aspects of the thing that you're perceiving it, despite it being dead in and of itself? Like, so Nietzsche right now is dirt, and his air is the air you're breathing right now. And it's no longer his breath. It's kind of like something else. The thing in itself has transmuted, and so we have these memes in our heads of things that those have done, in the same way that I'm going to mix up a bunch of analogies here, but like an ocean is made up of a near infinite number of waves over time, and all of those things exist in some way. But what I guess I'm getting at is like the essence of a thing, right? Essentialism, like. Can a person have goodness, or is the goodness just the way other people perceive the individual? You know, like, where is this goodness? Is it in the individual themselves as they live and improvise, or is the goodness in the minds of people that are perceiving the good character?
I think methodologically, how I might go about this is I like using people as reporters of what is good. So I think that, you know, if I'm eating an apple and I'm like, this apple is good, I think there's some truth in that recognition. This is different than saying like this apple is 10 centimeters tall or whatever, where I could be right or wrong. There's something in the subjective judgment of goodness where if the person is reporting in the right way, not journalists. Journalists can't detect goodness actually. If the person reporting,
what is a bad apple?
What's that?
What is a bad apple?
Well, it's an apple you feel revulsion towards, presumably, right? It's an apple that that you're not hungry for. You know, it's
so
apple
goodness,
that you
the
can't
goodness
have.
is in the observer. The goodness is assessed by the observer.
My single sentence, and then Vogel jump in, but my single sentence on that would be, you know, Plato. My long ass paragraph sentence will be that Plato said that Plato describes goodness as like this, as though it were a light that made things visible, that made things legible to us. And so I think people are seeing the reflection of the good in the world around them. And so in the apple, so with Nietzsche, right? So then when you're talking about Nietzsche, it's true that, you know, Nietzsche's dirt, right? But then where is the goodness to you is what I'd want to ask somebody.
I think to sort of echo Kersey's opinion there, the thing I would say is that I think you're not going to be able to talk about where goodness is or what goodness is without talking about the idea that goodness is one. So one of the ideas that is common to all of these mystical traditions, it's common to sort of Platonism and Aristotle, it's common to Buddhism and to Christianity and Islam and to Emerson and Nietzsche, is this idea of some both sort of like transcendent and immanent, some kind of unity of goodness. And when you start talking about a unity of goodness, that you're really just talking about one thing that is reflected in many other things. It's sort of like in the Bhagavad Gita, Shiva reveals himself, and then he's sort of revealing himself, and he is himself, but he's also all of these other gods and all of these different things and objects in the universe. It's like that's the sort of way that I think about goodness, is that it is one thing. And
how is goodness experienced?
What?
How do you know a thing is good? Like, you're saying goodness is some kind of unity, but that doesn't really say anything about its nature. So, like, what is the good? Do you have a felt experience of the good, or like, how do you know a good is good? Or like, even if you're not sure, how are you testing it?
The thing that I believe is that people are made in the image of God. Their essential nature resonates with the good. This is something you can truly know, but then that nature gets covered up. The thing that Heidegger says is that you misinterpret yourself according to your initial conditions. So it's like, for Heidegger, you're fundamentally looking at what being is, and you might say that goodness is being, or it's the ground of being, or something like this. But you're looking at what being is, and that's sort of like your fundamental activity as a person. And you get confused about it based on your initial conditions, based on your mother and your father and the land around you. So you know something about it, but you're sort of confused about the totality. So the thing I would say is that, like, your deepest and truest intuition, it's like what's in your heart, like the sense of follow your heart. That's where your feeling of goodness is, and it's not always subject to what I might call naive verificationism. So it's not like it's not a necessarily true fact about the universe that we can know that we know all of the things we truly know, if that makes sense. And so I think this introduces complexities in terms of like how we speak about these things. But anyway, what I believe is that you have the essential divine, a perfect nature. You are already enlightened. Like you have Buddha nature. You are made in the image of God, and that thing resonates with goodness. That thing is goodness. And then you have a bunch of confusions heaped on top of that.
So I let me try from a different angle. Vecnan?
Sure.
I'm going to try to go like super mundane, right? So like,
Yeah.
how do you recognize that anything is the case? Like, I've got my cup, right? And I'm like, this is a cup.
Right.
I think it's super complicated, obviously. I think part of what's happening is that there's all this data coming in visually. I can feel it in my hand, etc. But the data alone doesn't let me make the identification of cup. I have a concept.
Right.
That's one way to describe the thing that lets you make the identification of it being a thing in particular.
Yes.
I think that this goodness stuff works the same way. I think that we have a concept, and it's just a very special concept. That's basically my view. Where what makes a thing good, I think that it's interesting. So where like people can answer these statements about what is good. You say, if I give you $10,000, but you can never have children again, is that good or whatever? You'll never have children. Some people are like yes, and some people are like no, and they have some sense, right? And people have like moral intuitions, right? And people have, visceral aesthetic reactions and visceral kind of moral reactions to things. And so I think that those are all us looking at this raw, messy reality and comparing it to this weird concept that we have that seems to show up everywhere. But I don't know if that is useful or interesting.
Right, because ultimately, when we're thinking about this, right, when we're thinking about the good, we feel a certain kind of way about a thing. So the feeling comes first, and then there's the interpretation that comes on top of it. So this is why people talk about moral relativism, and this is why people disagree about what's good, because two people might read the same scripture and have a different feeling about it.
Right.
And that results in a different interpretation. And if they're, living their life by rules, then this is going to shape the way they see a lot of other things. Now, I think that understanding the good is actually like super, super crucial. And my would be something like good is one of those dualisms that's very dangerous. And when we say good and bad, we're immediately becoming confused, and we're kind of exhibiting like a kind of hubris in saying that a thing is good in and of itself. Like you are immediately trapping yourself into something crystallized when the reality is deeply impermanent. And it's kind of like how every vice we have is rooted in virtue. That the reason that people are getting fat from sugar is because we are programmed to where our desire for sugar was initially a virtue. And people that are addicted to drugs, it's because we're programmed to survive and procreate and pursue these things that are now dangerous for individuals, but fundamentally they exist because it helps us get here. Like without those things, we wouldn't be alive to abuse them.
So the way I take what you're saying, personally, is that it's true that we have difficulty telling what is good, but that doesn't mean that there is no thing. For example, you say we do this and we do that, and it messes our lives up because we're so confused. And I could say, well, why does that matter? And you might say, because we need to live well. We need to not be confused, right? And I could say, well, why is that? What is so good about that? And you might say, well, living well is part of the essence of being a human being, and to fulfill our purpose, you know. I feel like you'd go down there's some road that one goes down where then you start feeling this thing you're drawn to, this positive, you know, this possibility, you know, this instinct about, oh, is that a volcano? See, that volcano seems good to me because as a part of this show, I can show people cool stuff in Italy, and I am drawn to it.
Yeah. Right. But I would actually back up, and so you're saying like I would go down a line. I would say I actually don't need to go down a line. I could just say I get a sense that this thing is good, and if I follow that any further, I'm actually going to become more confused. Right? That asking a question, I think sometimes the question itself is the ending point. That trying to resolve these questions is actually just a way for us to exhibit our insecurity, and that a good state, which is kind of, I'm getting meta here, but a good state is just to be, you know, either enjoying the pursuit of a question or not having an answer to a question. That all of these things are fine, right? And like having an answer to a question isn't inherently better than just being like, I don't know the answer to this question. So I think that like in the moment, that activity of choosing what we're going to do and how we're going to improvise in that moment is in itself a kind of good, like no matter what. And this is really kind of abstract, but I think as soon as you start getting deep in the mud about what is good, then you've kind of lost the thread. And you're going to start deconstructing the world in a way that I guess leaves you less powerful, right? If we're talking about dancing, that being in that place where you know nothing and where you're coming from a place of curiosity and not having the answers allows you to go to a lot more places than saying, I have a perfect framework for the world.
Yeah, I think that's true a lot of the time. I think it's true for a lot of people that they can kind of be for me also, that if you get too caught into this particular paradigm and that particular line of questioning, then you end up kind of in a thread that is dead. But what I would say is that the thing that to me is really impressive about all of the sort of major philosophers is that they can kind of keep riffing, right? It's like, I don't listen to jazz, but I imagine that a good jazz player can kind of just keep going like for a long time in something that's highly improvised in a way that stays good and stays alive. And in a similar way,
they can.
Something that's, yeah, they can. And something that's, it's like in a similar way, philosophers who are very skilled, part of that skill is that it's like the book stays alive. I don't know if anybody's ever had this experience where you read a book and you're like, okay, I get it, and then you get bored and like the last 200 pages are just like not alive, right? Yeah, and then I think for the good philosophers, there's this constant aliveness that is probably because like the whole time they're writing their works, they're in touch like, deeply with something that is good. It's like they don't get captured by the stuff that they've already produced almost. I heard a quote from someone saying once something like art is when you start making something and you don't know what the ending looks like. And there's this sense that it's like when you are writing, or in a religious sense when you are being like exposed to revelation, that it's like you don't know the next thing that's going to come out. Whereas like boring stuff, it's like you know, you're like, oh, like you set up your point really nice there. Like I see what you did. Like it's very like boring almost.
By the way, we're going over Naples. Some pretty beautiful scenery here. I'm into it. I like what they did with Naples. Go for it, Vecna. The question was, what are we trying to figure out? I took it to be something like...
well, the chat started talking about art, so I just wanted to bring that up. And maybe that's a good place to go from goodness. And I honestly, like, I kind of have this perspective that all of this stuff that we're talking about gets to improvisation and being present and kind of exploring the nature of now, and that is kind of also synonymous with truth. And if we're reading like the Bible or a lot of these more ancient works, they're always talking about the way and the path and the light and the life. And
God damn it, I'm out of gas.
I think okay.
I'm going to solve
But
this.
there-
I'm literally going to Google this. Please keep doing.
Sure.
I'm going to Google this.
Sure. But they're all getting to this light, and I think that what that really is inhabiting the moment in such a way that, like you're talking about, art is kind of dead when you know where you're going, and that's because you're making your improvisation smaller in a kind of way, and that it's kind of like more of a stilted dance, like you're just copying, and you're not allowing your nature to maximize its ability to improvise. And then you could say, well, you know, could such a thing be smaller or larger? And I would say that's something that people could talk about. But I think that when people are looking at art and saying that's good, or they're enjoying it, if it has that ability to resonate with another person, it's because it's getting at something grand and natural that inhabits a lot of different people. And that gets not only to art, but it gets to truth, it gets to proper action, and it gets to the good. Like, these things are intertwined in such a way that they're completely inseparable, and it all gets down to being able to express yourself in the moment, in the now.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. I have to be logging off here.
Yes.
But, you know, thanks so much for having me on.
Totally.
I'm a big fan of the show. I'm following it from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
What an honor.
We love to have you here.
All right.
Peace, dude.
Catch you later.
See you, Vogelfried.
Vectin, you have to be deeply entertaining while I figure out how to get us fuel.
All right. Imagine me dancing. I'm dancing.
You try the camera again.
Yeah, I can actually. Yeah, sure. I'll try it. I need to get some ice when you are being entertaining again, but I will try and get a video here.
Not yet, bro. Not yet. What is
Yeah,
all
I
this
gotcha.
shit? Toggle fuel valves? What? What are we talking?
I don't know how to play your game, bro.
Yeah, me neither.
All right, so
Me neither.
I'm reading the Twitch here. Frank Ivy says, I think a big part of art is knowing where you are going, but must allow space for the decorative. And I think that's actually, I think that is a good counterpoint, that without context or framework, it's actually kind of difficult to improvise. So I think that the ability to improvise, like you need to consider how the context is in relation to the action, and all of this stuff. It's not like so simple. Like, improvisation is not simple. It's got an interplay with the environment, and so you need to respect the environment, and that environment has limits, and without those limits, improvisation is impossible. So there's this relationship that needs attention, because it's not like we're invincible Superman that can just do everything and anything, because that's God, and that's why God had to become Jesus, right? Because a completely impersonal God has nothing on the line. You know, they can just snap and make a new universe with people that are a little bit less shitty. But that's...
Speaking of God, we have fuel again.
Yeah, we got fuel.
We're back. 100%. Thanks for coming by, Texas Gunner.
Sure. So, Optimistic Industries asked me why improvisation is a word I use a lot, and I do use it a lot, and I think it's just one of the best ways to talk about being present. Like, for me, improvising is giving yourself to nature. Improvising is when you allow yourself to be uninhibited with the world, and so it's a communion with the world in a kind of way. And so I think it's just the most human way to interact with the world. And the word human here is probably wrong because I think an alien would be able to do it as well. But it's the most real way. Like a dog can improvise with the world in a beautiful way. Like everything that's alive can improvise with the world in a beautiful way, and everything that's not alive doesn't need to improvise because it is naturally one with all the motions of nature. So when we're improvising, we are kind of being in the world in a way that we are the world itself. And I feel like this is a lot of what Buddhism gets down to.
Irony of Nietzsche is that the only Ubermensch that was beyond good and evil was in fact Jesus Christ. Whoa. What do I think about that? Yes, anding the fucking universe. Humans are the only thing that can be in a state of not improvising. We're fundamentally the least holy animals. I think there's some truth to that. Like, how in their heads do, like, animals get, you know?
As far as we know, not at all.
As far as we know. Though, I don't know, people who have pets might have some kind of... You do get anxious pets, which is interesting. Yeah, my cat's neurotic as hell.
I would say we have to be careful about how we're interpreting that anxiety.
Mm-hmm. I want to get some, like... I feel like I'd need... If I hung out with an animal for, like, 8 hours... I don't have a dog. I mean, I've hung out with people's dogs. Yeah, they're very specific personalities.
Right, I'm going to get ice. Give me 1 minute.
Get yo ice. Alright, I'm going to crack my window so that some cool winter air can come in. By the way, I think my plane is fucked. It says my engine's on, and I'm gaining speed, but I can't really get altitude, and I think I might have just gutted the engine again. I'm so bad at this game. But icy means jewelry. Entertain us, funny man. It's my job. It's my job. If anybody else feels like calling in, by the way, we got slots. Man, this music, I can't deal with this music. I could do jazz, classical, country. Any votes? Oh, the plane's going down, huh? I'm gonna try to land this plane. No, not just yet. I'm gonna try to land it. How about that? I'm try to land on this. Is this a river? That's not how landing works, huh? Right now, suddenly my plane is working normally. I think that's a river. I think that's not a road. Yeah, Malty, feel free to get your professor in the chat. Hudson River landing, though. You can't land on not land. Thanks for coming by, Optimist. Uh-oh, here we go. Oh, belly flop. Oh, look at that skid. Look at that skid. That slide. Stuck the landing. Hell yeah, dude. Now we can just chill at the beach. Alright, I'm going to click Epic. Cinematic Orchestral Pirate Shanties. Beachgoers slain. We're going to see if this music is awful or what. How far did we make it? We made it to LIRM. We're kind of making our way up Italy. I say we respawn. He's talking about power. He's speaking of that landing. Control. See, now that we're down here, the graphics don't look so amazing. I feel like you could get in a shootout here. I guess that's that spaghetti western feeling, huh? GTA, but in the sky. I do have GTA. Oh, look at my dudes. We're like kitted up. Look at that.
All right. So
what's up, mate?
Let's see if I can get the video working again.
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
Why don't you just go to Discord and like see if you could refresh it or something? Maybe that'll work.
I mean, you look good now. Or do you look good on my computer? We'll
Oh, there we go.
give it a second.
I have arrived.
You know what? I'm also gonna get a beer. You chill. I'm gonna get my beer because I've been
Sure.
planning to get this beer this whole time.
Sure, I will entertain.
Excellent.
Because you've been thirsty for what?
Guys, be
an
nice
hour
to
and a half,
Critter.
something like that. Sure. All right. So let me pull this up in the corner so that it looks like I'm kind of looking at you guys. And all right. So what the hell are we talking about? Beachgoers are mangled. Power spaghetti westerns. We got a lot going on here. Russian Imperial Stout. I really like Russian Imperial Stout. Which one is that? Is that Rasputin? Which Imperial Stout are you drinking? Thank you, Maybe Gray. She said I'm awesome. That's so nice. Haze Critter. I'm unhazeable. Curzy's undunkable. I'm unhazeable. Goblin could come on? Yeah, absolutely. Wow, I actually guessed the Imperial Ale. Curzy, I correctly guessed the beer Vogelfree was drinking just based on that it was a stout.
Oh, nice.
That's how based I am. Yeah, I'm also an expert on beers.
Old Rasputin. Oh, nice. I haven't had.
It's a really good value, actually. It's really good value.
I haven't had as much great beer as I've wanted to in the last year.
Me neither, dude. Last 3 months I've been keto. I think I'm gonna give it till February, and then I'm gonna get off this fucking train because it's my life is just like today. I had no energy because I cheated while I was in Florida, not on a woman but on my diet.
Right.
And when you're trying to get back on keto from eating sugar or whatever, it's like it's like having the flu. Like you just no energy today. I was just like irate, had no time for anyone.
Right.
Just
time
rough.
for that shit.
Yeah.
Vecnan.
Yeah.
Godzilla versus King Kong.
It's
Also,
gotta be Godzilla. It's gotta be Godzilla.
Gotta be Godzilla.
Yeah.
My man.
It's gotta be Godzilla, for sure. King Kong is like Donkey Kong's better than King Kong, jeez.
Donkey
Kong.
Kong. Yeah. Should we keep going through Italy?
Now let's go to New York. Long Island. Go to Montauk.
Is that an airport name?
No. I know the airports. Just bring up Long Island and I can show you.
All right. Let's zoom in. Give it a little bit of daylight.
We got anybody from New York in the chat?
Where the hell's New York?
You're there. You're there. Okay, so if you go, you were there. Zoom back in.
All right, Long Island.
So I actually, where do you? I used to live in Brooklyn. I was in Prospect Heights for a little while. So go on the east side here. You see that little dot? That's not Montauk, but it's close enough.
East Hampton.
Yeah, the Hamptons. Let's go to the Hamptons.
The Hamptons. Dope. And then what? Go west, see the city?
Yeah, go west over like the middle of the island.
Right. Where is the damn?
Or we could bounce around. I mean, it's like the thickness of the island is such that it's like around 30 minutes to go from the top to the bottom. But to go from one end to the other, it's like 4 hours.
Wait, where's Manhattan?
Manhattan is at the tip here. You see that right there? Yeah, that's Manhattan.
Where?
So it doesn't look like an island because the resolution isn't so good, but it's on the west side.
Right.
It's on the west side. You see this island?
Yeah.
It's like kissing Manhattan.
All right, sweet. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Newark is New Jersey, but yeah.
Brooklyn, baby.
Let's see. But no, I'm gonna go off keto in February, but I'm not gonna like just go back to normal. I'm gonna do like the slow carb diet where it's basically like I'm eating a lot of meat and vegetables and stuff, but I'm allowed to eat beans. You know, like right now I'm not eating any beans, or like I'm allowed to eat rice.
Okay, so there was some drama that happened with some kind of bean dad a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Was that is that some terrible thing that I don't want to know about, or was it?
No, that was a guy that he was trying to like motivate his daughter to open a can of beans, and like she was having a hard time of it. That's it. Like people are saying it's like child abuse or something. I'm like, no, It's just being a dad, bro. Just
Being
relax.
dead. Open the damn beans.
Being dad was just being a dad. He was being a human being. I could keep going
Being
here.
dead.
The classic SSC scissor.
We're
Yeah,
up.
I think people that live very small lives tend to get very upset at things that are not very upsetting.
Ain't that the truth?
It's just especially upsetting for them because they have nothing to be upset about, and they're the kinds of people that get upset.
Oh, he let her eat until she opened the can of beans. I see.
Well, a little bit of hunger goes a long way these days.
Yeah. I mean, the kid got the beans open.
Yeah, but dude, what, your kid can't go hungry for like an hour or two?
Right.
Come on.
She was 5.
What, we can't send kids to bed without dinner anymore?
I'm reminded of a story, Vogelfrey. You say that. That's not how kids experience things. I mean, I'm reminded of a story. Yagyu Munenori, father of Yagyu Muniyoshi of the Yagyu Shadow School of Swordsmanship, apparently made his son do katas in the snow for 6 hours, and the kid couldn't walk for weeks or whatever. It's an important part of the whole mythology of the whole thing, as I read about it, and it is a little bit abusive. Yeah, that's fine. What's the difference between that and the beans? This music's weird. I'm switching this to jazz, dog.
So if I have kids and we're all doing intermittent fasting, is that abuse? If me and my kids are doing
underspecified.
Underspecified. Just doing intermittent fasting for one day.
Right.
That's what it is.
Yeah. I don't know if we need to go into the whole child abuse topic. I don't feel like I'm an expert, but.
Oh, I'm not an expert, but I've got a really active imagination.
Right.
I can create that whole world in my head.
All right, I've got jazz going, by the way, just so you can imagine the vibe back then.
Sure, sounds good. Yeah, I don't have any music in my ears, but but I'm very comfortable talking about this. So people are like, "Oh, you shouldn't make a child's experience negative in any way," but then you're going to have a child that has no resilience. Right, they're not going to know how to. I actually asked Igan about this in the news episode that's not going to be out for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But I asked him about is he worried about being too perfect of a parent, because that's possible where you set this bar for yourself and your family that's so high, and you're such an excellent person that everybody else seems kind of barbaric. And this is true of the moms in Infinite Jest, even though there's a little bit of potentially incestuous stuff going on there. But
haven't read it.
It's really good, actually. But she's seen as this figure that's satirically good, infinitely forgiving and infinitely accepting, and is always trying to make the best choices for her children, but it gives the children a kind of pathology. And ultimately, the question in my mind is whether pathology is avoidable. No matter how good or how bad you are, there's something that's going to be that if you're too good of a dad, then maybe the girl is not going to be able to have a boyfriend because all of these guys are too shitty, right? They don't measure up. They're not Buddha. And
I agree with Vogelfrey saying it's at least the second to last comment, that you got to be in touch with the context. I think it's just underspecified. Whether we should be upset at being dad is underspecified. We don't know. That's what, right? It's is there a video of the kid being miserable, or is it I don't know, dad's being a hard ass, kid's a little upset, and then they got the beans. I just feel like we don't know.
The place where paternalism comes into this is dicey, right? That are we going to just constantly be monitoring the suffering of our children? For instance, I went to basketball and I was pushed to go to basketball when I didn't want to go to basketball because my hamstrings were freaking killing me to the point of tears.
Right.
And I can tell you, I was suffering. It was very painful, and not in a way that was in my mind about building. As I didn't want to go. I was in way too much pain. My muscles were crying against it. I could barely walk, and they pushed me to go to basketball. And then afterwards, it was a character building experience. But it kind of gets to the question of whether an individual can be a victim, of whether an individual can suffer in any meaningful way. And of course, it's difficult and tricky to say no to those things, but it's definitely worth considering, because as soon as we start saying that this parent doing this thing is being a bad parent, as soon as we say that, we completely minimize the available actions, and we turn parenting into a set of behaviors where a parent just needs to constantly be managing the like mental state of their child and just keep it up in the air, up. But
yeah,
I don't know how healthy that is.
Yeah, by the way, I do believe that I'll be able to get Divya Eden on the show. I think that's in 2 weeks. And she's been tweeting a lot about raising kids and has kids, and I believe has a lot of comments on unschooling and on, I believe she might have taught her kids to do some sign language when they were super young. There's a whole theory around how to do that. So, I don't know, maybe Vectin, you can call in and argue with Divya or Vogelfrey.
Well, we can discuss it.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Yeah, I would. I'm being pedantic here, but I think the point of arguing is to win, and I don't really want to win. I want to learn. So I would just call it a discussion. But yeah, that's fine with me. I'm not trying. I'm not trying to like override the concept of what you're saying, but I would be willing to have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess the point that I'm kind of making here is that everybody that says this is a bad action,
right,
is kind of becoming confused and is setting down all of these rules and making parenting a very small thing, where I'm just saying, let's be curious about what it is and look at it and be more Jesuitical and practice some casuistry and really get deep into this, because I think an excellent parent, in all the ways a parent could be excellent, wouldn't be so simple as to just be constantly managing the suffering and pain of their child. That it's got to be more than that.
You got to make them strong.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. What is Jesuitical casuistry?
So Jesuits are a kind of Catholic.
Jesuits.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Jesuits are a kind of Catholic, and Jesuits often practice something called casuistry. And what casuistry is, it's essentially when you look at the case in very, very close detail, and you don't just simply follow like laws, like don't murder. It's not don't murder. It's, well, sometimes you might need to murder.
Sometimes murder a little bit.
Yeah, right, exactly. That you got to really look at the case. And it's not only about, okay, well, don't murder except in self-defense. Well, then again, maybe not. You got to look at the case. And life is really complicated, and rules are insufficient.
So that's
kind of what I'm talking about.
Does casuistry refer to that kind of contemplation of the case type approach?
Yeah, it's essentially a case approach. But it's a case approach to like life. That
right.
And I think when you apply that instead of like just like a crime, instead of just looking at a crime, you try to apply that to all of reality, all of the time, in the moment.
Right.
That is just a way to expand reality.
Yeah, it's interesting. I hadn't heard that term before.
Right. So. Yeah, so I'm kind of pushing back a lot here in a lot of different ways. But basically, I'm just saying, like, to just say this thing is bad all of the time is to make your view of the world smaller.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that. I think I just agree with that. I'm going to switch my fighter jet to gray to match our... Does it get this snowy in New York? I think, yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I wasn't even looking at where we are.
Oh, yeah, dude. We're in Long Island.
Yeah.
Here, I'm zooming out a little.
I like it with snow.
Yeah, it looks good. Thanks for coming by, Goblin. Great to have
I'll
you.
see you, Goblin.
X-Men plane. Oh, dude, yeah, I get a fucking SR-71. Yeah, it takes a second to load, but I like this orange with our snowy. Our snowy.
We're kind of high up for Long Island. You could see the entire island.
Right. It's kind of cool. I like that. Should I
Must
go
be a
lower?
national park. Yeah. Where's the map? Oh, okay.
Over
So,
here.
like, this is probably like near Iceland.
I can make it bigger. As useful.
Yeah, we're probably near Iceland right now. Yep. See, ISP. That's right.
Oh. Okay. Oh yeah. Cool. Make it a little smaller. I'm actually vibing with this jazz right now.
Yeah. Maybe I'll turn it on for a second just so I can hear it.
Yeah, dude.
Oh yeah. I like the jazz. I like the jazz station. I've been no music this whole time. Just toughing it out.
You can always go to Pretzel Rocks.
So, we got any other questions for me, the coming critter, back then?
Yeah, bring your questions. We can do calls. We can just shoot the shit. I'm curious to know, how's everything going with the podcast? That being becoming critter.
A little bit overwhelming. I've got so much. I've got a recording with Brooke. I've got a recording with Dreams, also known as Vajra Vibe, also known as Karma Custodian.
Yeah.
I've got a call with Eigen Robot. I've got a call this week. I'm talking to Liminal Warmth, and then I'm gonna need to take a week off because I got to get these shows out.
Right.
And my life's just been, I was in Florida for a few days, so that really slowed me down. But it's been great, and I think once we start getting these episodes out, I'm gonna line up some more stuff, and it's exciting, man. I think it's gonna be blowing up.
I'm curious to know some stuff like. Also, we got questions about your name and some other stuff. Feel free to grab any of those. But I'm curious about things about how you're navigating. Because I experienced this with this show, right? Where every week I'm like, all right, we got to do all the logistics, but then there's still like, how do I make this better? Like, what's the next step? Where are we going? What do I want this to become? So I'm curious to hear stuff about that, like, as far as you have a vision for a becoming creature, or how you do that.
Well, I think it's you let it be better. Like you just have to be open to it being better, and the way it will become better just kind of presents itself. So me just trying to put out episodes, you quickly realize that, I need better art. And you quickly realize that, like, you see the problems and the inefficiencies, and you just have to be willing to see them. So I don't think you need to put effort in. If anything, it's about removing the effort and just allowing yourself to see it.
Sort of like a non-doing.
Yeah.
Kind of energy.
Yeah, a bit like that. Yeah. But like I mean.
So then, how is that playing out for you in particular?
Well, I'll tell you. Like, I brought Ethernet to Florida because I was speaking to Eigen, and I wanted to make sure everything was 100%. And I had a backup computer and all this stuff, and I couldn't get the Ethernet to work. And it's like half an hour till the call, and Eigen's like, "Oh, I'm ready." So I jump on the call, and the internet is just not good. Like, I keep disconnecting and everything. But it's like the show ended up fine because I would like ask a question with enough oomph to it that he could go on and on and on without me saying anything.
Is that one out yet?
No, it's not going to be out for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
But because I know what a question should sound like that simple thing, knowing what a question should sound like, and the fact that you know you need to tug on it in such a way that it gives a person space to improvise. I'll give you a for instance. If you ask somebody, what are you passionate about? You're going to kill the conversation. Like, that's the wrong question. Or I'm going to use a different example. If you ask a waiter, is this item on the menu good? They're not going to tell you anything. They're going to be like, yeah, it's great, period. But if you say, if you were on a date with someone and they wanted you to flex, they wanted you to show them what you've got, what's the best thing you've got, and you're trying to impress them, what would you order for them? Now, they're actually, here's a question that maybe they never really thought about before, or they never conveyed in a certain way. And they could take that and they might be able to talk about 3 or 4 different dishes in a different kind of way and why that might be important. But like, that's just one way to phrase a question a little bit differently in order to bring more out of an individual. But all of this is just to say, like, when I'm on the show and I'm listening to someone's answer, I can tell whether my question was bad.
Right.
You know, because if my question's good, then they're almost excited to go on and on and on. And I'm going to have to stop them.
Right. Yeah. I always ask, what's the worst thing on your menu, just to make them uncomfortable. Also, deceit, just to test them a little bit. My dad is like that. Just that's the immediate thing that makes me think of. It's just kind of like, he does this with me. You know, kind of ask me these questions just to fuck with me a little bit and just sort of test my will. Test my intention, I suppose.
With questions?
Yeah, like, you know, but like, that doesn't make much money, does it? You know, if I'm telling them I'm doing Twitch streaming, you know, and it's like,
sure.
Because if I just lie down, like, no, I guess not. You know what I mean?
Not yet.
Right. Yeah.
It's sort like when you started on Twitter, how many followers were you getting the first 2 weeks? You know? Like,
no.
None.
Right.
Yeah. But it compounds. And now, you know, I'm making money in my sleep on Twitter.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, but you kind of get what I'm saying. Like,
so there's the interviewing skill. You're sort of that's sort of one thing on your mind, like the question asking skill.
Yeah, I think about questions a lot. Like when I have a show coming up, it's kind of on the back burner for me. And I don't actually work on my questions really that much.
Right.
What I'll do is I will let my mind give me questions because it's on the back burner for me. And then I'll write them down and then I'll revisit them and I will ask myself them and just see, like in a adrenaline focusing kind of way, I'll see if a question kind of gives me space to explore.
Right.
If a question can give a person that has no idea about the subject a way to explore the topic, then you have a great question.
Right.
And that's all it comes down to.
Right. Yeah, interesting. So you've got a lot of recordings. All right, we've made it to Manhattan.
Yeah, there it is.
There she is. There's that Trump Tower.
I love Manhattan. I lived in Manhattan, and a lot of people don't like it, but living in Manhattan and just like being able to walk outside and walk for 10 minutes and be surrounded by this energy, and just have just constant fruit everywhere of like a visual fruit, like excitement, people doing jokes and doing gymnastics, and people on the train just completely ignoring these break dancing in the middle of the floor because they've already seen it 10 times this week. And it's like when you actually step back and you go, okay, there's somebody break dancing on the train, and everybody is just bored.
Right.
It's like, there's something.
I do love that fucking city. No, I do.
I love it.
I harbor dreams of becoming a New Yorker someday. It really is a beautiful place, beautiful and terrifying. By the way, we have Maybe in lobby if you wanna bring her on. Maybe. Oh wait,
she dropped out. Is she trying to? She's trying to seduce me into the lobby here.
All drag and drop. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Wait. Stop going back in lobby.
What are you doing? It seems like she's getting. I hear a message.
I feel like I should do another. Huh. Lobbyists. I'm trying to fly a jet with my left hand while reaching to my left with my right hand. Vecna, get out of the lobby. Guys, both of you got to be in the Critter FM.
Oh, hey.
Hi. You're on.
Okay. Oh,
You okay?
hello.
Good evening, maybe.
Hey. Oh, it's exciting to be here.
Yeah,
Okay.
we love to have you back. I'm going to turn up your volume somehow.
Okay, am I quiet? That's...
A little.
Yeah, but that's on me. I got you.
I gotta go back to class in like 10 minutes, but
Sure,
I
you
thought
got 10
that
minutes.
something we were talking about parents a bit. I felt like,
Uh-huh.
and one thing I wanted to say was that I feel like it's really cool to get to kind of be friends with my parents now that I'm an adult and talk
Mhm.
to them about how like, hey, this is what I liked when we were kids, and this is what I didn't like, and I don't know about your guys' parents, and this is kind of like what I'm curious about from you, but my parents are like very good at being like, yeah, that was whack. Like,
Uh-huh.
I didn't know what I was doing. There's so many things I would have done differently in retrospect, and I'm sorry for like putting you in timeout so much or being mean to you about the things you thought were cool. So yeah, that's my question.
So what do you
guys.
think about that? Like, dig into that. How do you think about regret? Like, if it...
Vectin, you don't question the questioners.
No, no, but...
No, I like it.
No, I think about this, like, if you didn't do the regretful action, would you ever have learned that it was regretful? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like in all of the things that we might regret, there is a teachable moment, or something that shaped who we are today. And to be grateful of who you are in the moment is to regret nothing. So what do you think
Yeah.
about that?
Well, I think that there's like I'm not sure like about the like time travel speculation of like how life would be different if they hadn't had those regrets and what they wouldn't have learned or something like that. But one thing is that if they hadn't made mistakes, I wouldn't know from my experiences with them now that they're the kind of people who can say sorry and like look back
Right.
on things and feel differently, and that's something that
Right.
I so treasure about our relationship now, because
Right.
like I'm not somebody who has a lot of like long lasting friendships. I like didn't keep friends that I had in like elementary school or high school or anything like that. So they're like the people that I mean, obviously they're the people everybody's known the longest in their lives, but I don't have other people that I've known that long. So to have like a relationship that like can reflect over decades and acknowledge things and change is like something really important to me. And I don't know that a lot of parents do that. I feel like I hear from other people sometimes that their parents have not changed and that they totally stand by
Right.
all of their parenting choices. And
Right.
I'm like, oh yeah, like I can't imagine how it would feel to try and have an adult relationship with my parents if we couldn't like be friends instead of like all of these walls of the parent-child relationship staying up.
So let me tell you what happens with my parents is I say, you did this weird thing. You did this thing when I was a kid. And they're like, no, I didn't. That's what I get.
Same thing for me, dude.
They're just like, what are you talking about?
I'll be like, yeah, I was a child and I remember all of this stuff because it was deeply emotional to me, and they'll be like, yeah, you're making that up. I'm like, what?
Like, they don't stand by, like, they're convincible. You know, I can be like, you know, like, I'm like, no, like, you said this, you did this, you made me go to camp, and you said this was the reason, or whatever
Right.
the hell
Right.
it was. And,
Right.
I get a lot of that. Occasionally, I can have a more serious conversation. I don't really do this with my dad. I think I would feel weird doing this with my dad, to be honest. But I will occasionally have a conversation with my mom, which is like, it would have been better if this was different when I was a kid, you know? And I've kind of done it in part because I'm interested in psychology, and I just know I've been shaped by who my parents were and are. So I'm interested in it, you know, getting into that. Like, why was the environment like that, you know, back then? And I've had some fruitful conversations. So when it gets serious, like, they'll talk about it, but mostly they do not remember all kinds of stuff. Then again, I also don't remember all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I definitely remember sending my parents like a 𝔽𝕝𝕚𝕚𝕚 video on
Yeah, I love him.
timeout, and them being like, oh, he says timeout's bad. Well, the people who were teaching us how to be parents said that timeouts were good.
That's true.
And we're sorry, like, we wouldn't have done this thing if we weren't taught that that was like important, as disciplining your kids was like a priority and this is how it was done. And I'm like, oh yeah, sorry that the science has changed, but just so you know, you made me weird.
Yeah. Yeah, part of it too is you hear about stuff like, the common wisdom about like leaving the kid alone and letting them cry it out. A lot of that stuff just flips. They just flipped it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I don't know. We're all fucked up, and they'll probably switch it back by the time our generation is one click older.
Yeah, I can see why this makes people who don't have kids so hesitant to talk about like what parenting should look like, because I think it's like from the outside you have a probably really low resolution view of just how complicated like every little aspect of the parenting experience is, and then even across time, like generation to generation, the available information just like does this bizarre circus, and the idea of like trying to navigate that is something that's really intimidating. I'm excited to take it on personally eventually.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't expect to like nail it, and I expect to have this same relationship with my kids where like, when I'm 50 or whatever, I'm going to be saying, "Oh man, yeah, I fucked that up. I'm so sorry."
Right. Also with diet is a huge thing. The whole food pyramid, have your 12 units of carbs per day, don't eat fat, that's another one that is just flipped.
Well, you're getting at, I think, something important, which is basically like that all of this isn't alone, right? Like this is all part of a system. In that, for instance, child abuse, where they're physically beating children, for the vast majority of human history, that didn't like occur in a vacuum, right? So when we look at that stuff and we say that this is terrible, I think we are in some danger of moralizing history, and I feel like that is indeed very dangerous, because it is a way of cutting yourself off from the entirety of humanity. When we say, oh, well, every single man that behaved in such a way is no longer respectable, even though they died 100 years ago, so on and so forth. That as soon as you do that, as soon as you try to discredit the parents and the individuals historically, like you need to look at them again in kind of like a with casuistry, which is basically just like you got to look at the system, you got to look at the entire thing, and not just like looking at a behavior, an isolated behavior without its context is really robbing it of its richness.
Yeah, because otherwise you're doing this like fundamental attribution error thing on like a generational scale, and you're saying that, oh yeah, these are the kind of people who were bad parents, and that's why our generation is messed up. But really it's like, oh no, their generation was messed up for the same crazy like combination of situational factors that led to their behavior, that led to our crazy situational factors that lead to us being messed up.
Right. And I think it's valuable to just look at things in an inverted way, where we might say, oh, things are so screwed up back then. But I think it's also valuable to say, well, maybe things are actually more screwed up right now. Like, people just presume that progress is up and away. But the truth is that the way things are going right now could lead to dangerous antisocial behaviors, writ large. And when our just total system and our total culture is making people more and more alienated, that could be significantly more damaging and significantly more abusive than the fact that, a kid gets smacked in the face. Now, I'm not in any way saying that parents that smack their kids in the face, like that's okay. But what I'm saying is that within the context of what's going on, abuse may mean different things in different eras, and when a parent today gives their child a phone and that's their main, or rather gives their child a phone and that's their main form of socialization, that could be worse, right?
Yeah,
so
that's true.
You really have to think about what we're doing within the context of society and within the context of our animal attributes.
Yeah, I hear that. It's like we should keep our eyes on our own plate here. Anyway, I gotta hop off and pretend I'm in class again. But love you guys.
Yes. Yeah, say hello to your class for us. Great to have you
Will
on.
do.
Thing.
Awesome. Always great to have Maybe on the show.
Yeah, she's great. And how did we end up on parenting?
I think she just brought it in because we were on it earlier. By the way, we did make it to New York. I'm just kind of going around in circles. Side note, if other people are seeing these letters and shit floating in the sky, like letters and numbers, I think those are other players. So I think I'm actually online. There's other players. I don't know if I can do anything besides like see them and fly towards them if I want to, but it's kind of cool.
Follow the shoreline.
Follow the shoreline. Which direction?
South.
Okay, so just start going south overall, like cut across.
Yeah, but along the coast.
All right.
Yeah. The fractal.
All right.
But I'm gonna try and bring the screen back up here.
Solid.
So just click on it and it should refresh.
I think it does it itself. I mean, I can go over to it. There you go. Are there Tic Tac UFOs in the sim? I don't know. What is that? I haven't seen
Tic Tac UFOs.
I haven't seen any Tic Tac UFOs. We were talking about Bean Dad. Yeah, we had Bean Dad earlier. Bean Dad.
Oh yeah, Bean Dad. So here's something. I'm guessing you've never read him, but have you read any? I feel like this is such a like junk food book for spiritual people. But have you read any Jed McKenna?
No, who's Jed McKenna? But side note, I wrote a blog post about this. I'm not against junk food books if they teach you stuff.
Well, here's the
if it's not junk food, if it's not truly junk food, if there's something
right.
good.
It's okay. So these books by Jed McKenna is like a pen name, and I presume these are fictional books about a person that's enlightened, but from the perspective of the enlightened person. So the narrator is this fictional enlightened guy that is either the persona of a person that does believe they're actually enlightened, or it's just a fictional book about somebody that happens to believe that they're enlightened. And it's strange because he talks about enlightenment is basically just like being egoless and being able to be egoless, and then like as soon as you do it, you're like, well, I'm gonna just jump back into my ego because that's the only way I can like interact and stuff. And so ego becomes like a suit that this enlightened individual is wearing, and so that they do experience wanting and they do experience suffering, but they can just slip out of it. But when they slip out of it, it's like there's nothing going on. They're dead. That being enlightened is equivalent to being dead.
Okay.
And you only get there if you're curious enough to want to know the truth. And so this is kind of why I was talking about the wills of power and the wills of truth earlier.
Yeah.
That basically what they're saying is that the only way to get to truth is to kind of dig deep into those things we don't want to look at, which is essentially our fear of death. And you need to dig into it so deeply that you experience death yourself, and it becomes this kind of permanent ego death, and that is enlightenment. And that the way he puts it, and I think it's actually really entertaining, is that he basically says he's a vampire. That he's surrounded by non-vampires, and he's a vampire. My alarm's going off. And he's a vampire, and like he can possibly turn other people into vampires. But when you become a vampire, you don't look at people like people anymore. They're like pea zombies. They're like, playing a game, and you can go around.
Enlightened, or is he a sociopath, or both?
I mean, it's fiction, so like you can. It's fiction masquerading as a serious, actual, spiritual book. So how you interpret it is really up to you. I think the format is actually really creative in that if you just read it, you can believe that Jed McKenna is a true person, but it's fictional.
Right.
Like the whole thing's fictional. Like the ashram doesn't actually exist. All of these situations never actually happened. There was no actual journalist. This is all fiction. But you could read it, and if you don't actually know this, you could just believe that all of this is actually happening. Yeah.
So that's an interesting genre where they kind of play with the fictionalness without they're not hiding it, but they kind of don't lay it all out there.
So P Zombie, you said say what are you referring to? Was I unclear on something?
The what?
But yeah, the book's pretty straightforward. But he basically, in the book, oh yes, I said zombie. I said the thing. So in the book, he talks about how like when he was almost 30 or something, and of course
Right.
this is all fiction. But when he was almost 30, he basically just like went off the grid, stopped talking to his family, stopped talking to his friends, just like became a neat, and all he would do was read philosophy and spiritual books,
Mm-hmm.
and he would just write and write and write and write, trying to write something that was true. And
Right.
then he would take all of his writing and throw it in the fire, and he would write, and he would try to write what was true, and he's really struggling with it because nothing seems like it's true. And then one day he woke up, and when he wakes up, he realizes, like, Plato's cave, like, this is all not reality.
Right.
And he enters a permanent ego death, where after he wakes up, and he said enlightenment is just like chance, like he just gets lucky. And once you experience this, there's no going back. Like from then on, you recognize that you're willingly watching the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and that everybody in it is just a person that's an actor in a soap opera,
Mm.
and they don't even know it, right?
Mm.
But you're kind of you're able to look at these people in a way that's above them, because you're not driven by wants and desires. You're simply choosing to play with them and interact with them, but in a moment you can turn to death. And he gets into this emptiness thing, but the whole point for me is like, why? Like, why would you want to be a vampire?
Why would you want to live like that?
Right. And essentially what he's getting to is like, well, the truth. And in the book he says, like, there's no really good reason to do this. Like, I did it by chance because I was like monomaniacal about truth, but that's pathology, right? Like being
Right.
monomaniacal about truth is a kind of pathology. Thinking is a kind of pathology. Analyzing is a kind of pathology. All this stuff is not being. Right, but somehow this all drove him to like the utmost being.
Mm.
But I mean, within the context of everything else I read, I love when everything that I've read allows me to understand something
Mm-hmm.
on a much deeper level. Like if I didn't read Anthony DeMello, and if I didn't read a lot of these other books, then I wouldn't get it. I would be like, what the hell is he talking about? And a lot of the writing is about this, like a lot of the Zen stuff kind of gets to this, where it's like, if you just read the book and that's the only book in the genre that you read,
Right.
you will be completely lost. But after you read like 7 of those books, the ideas come together in a way that you can actually understand any of the books.
Yeah, it provides a puzzle piece kind of thing.
Somebody dropped the W word.
Wittgenstein. The yeah, I hate false gurus. I really hate that phenomenon.
Right. Which is, it's kind of funny that it's a fictional character, right? Because it's like so fitting.
I think it's a valid topic.
Literally a false guru.
It's a valid topic to write about. Some people here might have read J.D. Salinger, Franny and Zoe. Is this kind of interesting? You might like this, Vectin. It's pretty short. Check out Franny and Zoe. It's kind of it centers around this.
Yeah.
You said you've read it?
Salinger, yeah.
Yeah, Salinger. Uh-oh, we got robot. Someone calling about how mad they get at false gurus and grifters. Yeah.
Well, that was my initial allergy to like. I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay.
There is someone on Twitter who always struck me as a grifter, and that rubs me kind of the wrong way. But I think they have good intent.
Right.
And
grifting for good.
Yeah, I internally I have a complicated feeling about this person, but I don't want to blow them up on your show.
Yeah.
And create like some kind of drama.
Hey man, Philosophers on Twitch playing Flight Simulator is not currently taking sides in any major drama, But our
No.
guests are welcome to drama in whatever way they
Yeah.
please, and we are happy to support that.
I will tell you, I'm not talking about Campbot because I don't take Campbot seriously. I think Campbot's always joking 100% of the time.
Uh-huh.
I think Campbot is the most inauthentic individual on Twitter. I think it's all just like masturbation.
I think, I don't know if we want to talk about, I don't know how much you want to get about masturbation.
Technique.
The no, Vectin, not that. Not like this. I think I want to go out there and say I think Campbot has. I voiced the thing twice today. It's kind of weird. I don't really usually get that effect. Strange. I think Kantbot has some good. I have to call him Kantbot because I know it's Cantbot, but it's Kant, dude. I think he's got some good content. I mean, he's also kind of a jackass, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, he's got good content. Yeah, he's got good content. But I think he's doing the IA thing. Like, I think he's.
Oh, Aya or Ayla.
Yeah. Sure.
You're being like a kind of like a getting engagement in like a spicy way kind of thing. That's sort of how I place Ayla myself.
Yeah, like it's intentional. You're right. It's I'm not saying it's not improvisation, but it's not.
It's using that Internet of Beefs thing.
It's theatrical.
Right. Content creator.
So we could talk about exploitation actually, because I think manipulation is actually a really interesting topic. But I will let you start. So let me phrase the question in an interesting way. Give me 10 seconds.
Very well. Also, callers are welcome if anybody's got a something they want to ask about.
So here's a question:
Yes.
Is there such a thing as victim? Is there victimhood? Is victimhood a thing?
Yes, I think so.
How does one become a victim?
So, let me think about that. I mean, I'll just say that I think that...
It seems like a simple question, but it's not.
Yeah, none of these things are simple. I think it's possible to be in a place of vulnerability which is used against you unjustly, and which sort of... Yeah, I mean, I don't have a super like alternative take there. I think you're interested in the topic of victimhood because you kind of, I feel like I've heard you say that it's not a thing.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much we agree or not. I think it is a thing, but also it's something like there is no valid final mindset of victimhood, which is to say if you find that you are a victim, there is a better attitude that's possible, but you may need time to get to it. And like that story may do some work for some amount of time, but ultimately you're going to want to find another one.
Here's how this conversation goes every single time.
Yes.
I say victims aren't a thing, and then everybody gets really upset.
Yes.
And then I talk about it for 10 minutes, and everybody goes, oh, well, now after 10 minutes of talking, I finally understand what you're saying, and I completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't you say that to begin with? And I'm just like, because it takes 10 minutes. But yeah, I don't think victims are a thing, because as soon as you say victims are a thing, it's relinquishing agency. Like that gets down to it. Like imagine a solipsistic world where you have no agency. Like what is that? Now, I'm not saying solipsism is true, but the fact that you can imagine solipsism being true makes victimhood a very strange idea.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you imagine...
Wait, what does solipsism have to do with victimhood?
Because the whole premise of solipsism, right, is that you are the center of the whole world and everything is within your interaction. Like,
yes,
everything is from within your perspective, right? That you're the only one that's an individual. And so there's this environment that you're interacting with, and that environment can be an environment which gives you pain, and it can be an environment that gives you pleasure. And so the environment has some interaction with you. But if you are the only one that is aware, and if you are the only one that you know exists, how
Right.
can you be a victim? Like it doesn't make any
Because
sense.
victim requires two people. That's why it doesn't work.
Or something. I don't know. But like, I'm not saying solipsism is true, but I'm saying that like, if you just imagine it being true for a moment,
Right.
then you can see why victimhood is kind of nonsensical.
Well, I don't know. What? I mean, okay. Let's say I can't see it. Can you?
Okay, sure.
Is it something like? Well, people would just say, okay, but solipsism isn't true. There are other people.
Right. Yeah. Correct. I don't believe solipsism is true. I'm just using it as kind of like a framework, kind of like imaginary numbers.
Right.
Like imaginary numbers, like, don't work, but they are useful.
Right.
Yeah. Saying imaginary numbers don't work is itself problematic. But anyway, my point is this: that victimhood, the concept of victimhood, just means I am removing agency from myself and giving it to something else. Mm-hmm. That's all a victim is. A victim is one without agency. But if you look at your own life, right? If you meditate, if you recognize that consciousness is the way your body feels and the way you feel, and that you are not you from a third person perspective. You are the combination of your experiences and your feelings and your memories and the totality of your vision. If all of this is your personal experience, right, and you look down at the agency of where you may have agency, right, because we're just these knots of causality anyway. Like, there's no such thing as agency anyway. If we want to be nihilistic, agency doesn't exist. If agency doesn't exist, then victimhood doesn't exist anyway. But assuming agency exists, if in this knot of causality there is some kind of Big Bang first actor, then being a victim is just saying that somebody else has this more than me, or that I think when somebody says they're a victim, they basically just say, I went through an experience I didn't like.
I mean,
right?
Someone else can have more causal power than you.
How so?
I don't know. Like someone hit one of your parents with a bus years before you were born, and you never existed. Sure. I mean, there's sort of like this downstream.
Think about reality, though. Like
quality.
I don't believe you even believe that. Think about reality. What is reality? What is noumenon? Think about it. If you think about noumenon, there's no fucking agency.
Think about noumenon,
there's no fucking retard.
Think about
noumenon. Right, yeah, think about noumenon. Like, think about, like, just freaking particles and shit. And ultimately, the concept of victims existing suggests that another individual has power over what you experience, right? Like that's essentially what it is. That is outside of your control, or whatever. But like, if you think about that, like it's total nonsense, because first of all, there are always going to be things outside of your control.
You're just saying it's a bad attitude.
No, I'm saying it just fundamentally doesn't even make sense as a concept. That like either.
But like, you could construct a physics in which there are victims and non-victims. That doesn't mean that we live in that world, but like, are you saying it's an inherently nonsensical idea,
or just it's inherently nonsensical? Yeah.
Right.
Inherently nonsensical.
We do have some thoughts, and
I've been reading the chat.
Yeah.
But okay, so here's the thing: that if you believe about the world in this domination structure, right?
Right.
I feel like that's a really, really. That's a really confining structure with which to perceive the world. Like, if you're in a cage with a lion or whatever, that lion has more capability of how you perceive your consciousness than you do. I don't believe that that's true. Like, I think that, like, in Solzhenitsyn's book, Gulag Archipelago, right? Like, you have this person that is in this extremely abusive structure, right? And chooses to be positive, and the next day he has his brains beaten out and he dies.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But up until that moment, starving, he chose to be positive. He chose to look at the world in a way that was vibrant and new and lovely. And he died, but up until that point, he wasn't really a victim because he was able to perceive his consciousness as this incredible positive thing. He didn't see himself as a victim. He saw himself as this individual interacting with the world.
Well, one reaction I have to what you're saying is that it does echo something a bunch of the spiritual traditions suggest, which is there's sort of a, they can do whatever to your body, to your person, but they cannot do whatever to your soul, and that the soul is inherently free. This, I believe, shows up in Sikhism. I believe Rand is into this idea. I think that Christianity is certainly in favor, and it probably shows up 10 other places. So there is some agreement there.
That's Aurelius that you're quoting. And I think Aurelius is useful. I don't agree with everything he says, but I think he's empowering and useful. But that concept that, it's also deeply Buddhist, right? This concept that there's no really good and bad, like that everything is teachable or how you perceive anything is really up to you is, I think, deeply true. I can give you a story that I broke my hand and it healed wrong, and I went to the hospital and I gave the guy my hand, and without painkillers, he just took my hand and he snapped the bone in half and he reset it. And I was able.
Hell of a doctor.
Yeah, he was pretty good. But I was able to just kind of breathe and be in the moment, and I didn't hide in myself. Right. I was just completely in the moment, and at no point in all of this did I go, "This is bad," right? It was just, it was kind of exciting, and what the result was that I had a broken bone, and I was aware of it, and it happened, and there was pain involved, but none of that was bad to me, right? So the way you see a thing, right? If you have a boyfriend that breaks your hand in half, right, it's very, very possible that you see that as a very bad thing, right? And you see yourself as the victim. But it's also just possible for you to look at this whole situation as kind of teachable, learnable. I'm going to grow. I'm going to grow because I have a lot of faith in myself.
Right.
And there's nothing I can't overcome. There's nothing that I can't come out of stronger, and you can apply that to anything.
I think there's something not wrong. I don't entirely. I'm not going with you on the whole framing of the thing, but I, in many ways, agree on the conclusion. And I would just say that I think in a lot of cases, it takes something to be able to receive the idea that you're saying. And people in very, very bad circumstances, for many reasons, will have difficulty receiving the idea that you're saying.
Sure. Or why?
Or they will use the idea that you're saying in a way that's harmful to them.
Sure.
So self-blaming is a major, major thing. And, while it may be true that there is a better non-self-blaming kind of liberated response, it's sort of, I think of there as being maybe it's like a development process, right? I think of you as describing a desirable outcome, right? Which is when the person takes agency and, ownership of, not just their life, but their experience in this immediate way.
People talk about certain abuses and they'll look at this concept and they'll think it's really ugly, but the Gulag Archipelago is an incredible example, and Viktor Frankl is an incredible example of people that went through the worst shit you can go through: torture, starvation, being on the verge of death over and over and over 100 times, and what they pulled out of it was that I'm not a victim, that I'm capable and powerful. How can you... I find it difficult to read their perspectives of the people that went through the worst shit and lost all of their loved ones and were put into a place that would depress the vast majority of people. And they came out of it with this concept that not, oh, wow, I am the victim of this terrible cultural machine, but they came out of it saying, I was a participant in this crime.
Right.
That I actually am agentic, and I was a participant of the crime that this state committed. And that concept is freaking so glorious
Yeah.
that you could kind of be so responsible for your own life, that responsibility is so beautiful
Yeah.
for me. And to see yourself as a victim, ultimately, in a practical way, to see yourself as a victim is doing yourself a disservice. Even if you can theoretically imagine you could be a victim, seeing yourself as a victim is doing yourself the harm of becoming a victim.
Okay, here's my counter, is just that sometimes in the process of healing, recognizing that you in fact have been wronged by somebody else is sometimes totally an essential step. The reason is that I think there's a version where like you're thinking that you're smaller than you are, but there's another version which is that you're thinking that you're bigger than you are, which is that you think if I'm a certain type of person, certain types of bad things should never happen to me. And the fact that they happen to me means that I'm not that type of person, and like something deeply wrong is happening. And realizing that like no, actually, like there was another agent out there who fucked me over.
Right.
Like
Right.
that can be an honest recognition. Like
I see what you're saying, but let's return to the Aurelius you were quoting, which is basically that if someone robs me, they are not damaging me; they are damaging themselves. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when you
it's a description of a final state. It's like, forgive them; they know not what they do. It's a description of a final state of clarity.
Right.
And I guess I see some of the concepts as being useful for the process of getting to greater clarity. It's my opinion.
I think when you talk about wrong, like being wronged,
sure,
then you are giving someone else the agency that is actually truly yours, that it is your birthright. Your agency is your birthright, and you are choosing to give it to somebody else and say, you have this power over me, right? Because, like, for instance, let's say somebody steals my car. I could say that I'm wronged. I could say that I'm a victim. I could say that my property was taken. But in reality, having a car is like totally fucking imaginary. And who I am and what I am is totally fucking imaginary. And the concept of being wronged is totally fucking imaginary. And victimhood is totally imaginary. And my actual life experience is completely cultivated by myself. Right. So taking that responsibility and being agentic in your own life is having that godly and like utmost power over everything in your life, and no one can actually hurt you. That if they cut off your foot, they cannot actually hurt you. That you will experience pain because of them. But ultimately, your consciousness is subservient to your ability that you have over your own soul.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you talk about it. It's interesting to hear your take. I think it is it is spicy, but
you learn a lot of stuff at Costco.
Yeah, that's right. Fuljo says seems like victimhood is a developmental step of first realizing other people have agency. That's interesting. Interesting take. There's another take in here I thought was interesting.
No, I think that's an interesting take.
Yeah. Oh, yes. 𝔽𝕝𝕚𝕚𝕦𝕝𝕚 said we need the concept of victims for the justice system to work. Yeah, I think there's something to there, too. It's sort of like as a social concept of just sort of the one who got the bad done to them, the one who should be recompensed or whatever. But that's pretty social.
Yeah. Well, Solzhenitsyn talks about that, too. And I think really, like, that book needs to be read just because, like, it's so quotable. Yeah. But Solzhenitsyn talks about how he, too, could have been the torturer. Like how he wasn't really that far away, that he could have become the torturer, and that he was actually interviewed to become the torturer. And so that, like, that was a total possible direction for him. And I left finance in large part because I kind of had the presence of mind to see what the incentives would do to me. And I didn't want to become the person that the incentives would shape me to becoming.
Right.
And so that was why I made that choice. And I mean, among other reasons, but ultimately, like, you don't always have that presence of mind. Like you didn't always have that presence of mind. You did make choices that would have led you to be less kind, and you did make choices that would have created some suffering in the world, right? And being able to take responsibility for that, to be like, I created unnecessary suffering.
Yeah.
I made choices that made myself a person that is less kind. Is in a way to empathize with all people.
Yeah, I've been kind of interested in the idea of forgiveness as like a path to greater agency. It's sort of being able to be forgiven for having done wrong lets you intend to be better, you know. By the way, so we're getting towards our 3-hour mark. I don't know how much longer you want to chill, Critter. We might be able to get one more call in if somebody wanted to. I have seen some people getting in the Discord, possibly loitering around to see what's going on and if they feel drawn into taking the next step. But
sure, I can hang around for a little while longer.
Yeah.
I wasn't drinking it. I wasn't drinking at all up until like half an hour ago,
Oh, yeah.
and then I started drinking a little bit, and now that's why it's like free flowing.
Yeah.
Philosophy.
Ask Vecnin about fucking victims. He'll put a drink in him. You got an evening.
Well, it's I think it's fun because it's like something that people obviously disagree with me on.
Right.
Like, easily. They easily disagree with me on it, and it's something I've argued with my family about. And so that makes it more fun than talking about how like legibility might be wrong or something. It's like
Word.
Gotta be spicy.
At some point, maybe we'll do this as a video or something. I do want to get more of your fashion stuff.
Sure.
Maybe we do the
Wait,
video
so
where you
what about
help me.
as a transition? What about as a transition? I go get a little bit of ice, and then you think of some questions to ask me about fashion, and I will answer them off the fucking top. So I'll be right back.
All right, man. Get some ice. Dave's aerodrome. The fuck is that? It's Dave's aerodrome. Malty says, hosting an interintellect salon about radical responsibility soon. I think there are no victims is maybe a less than minimally inflammatory way of putting it, but I think it's a useful frame for sure. Yeah, yeah. I attended Visa's II salon on Saturday, and it was dope. Yeah, II's check out Interintellect on Twitter. I haven't been on any of their stuff yet, but I've heard good things, and I know they had or are soon running a classics focused one that interested me. It's like an evening length conversation or whatever topic. Word. Come on, who wants to call in? Who we got to get? Uno mas. Uno mas. That's my. That would be what intrigues me. I'm getting friend requests or something on Discord. Come on in. Is it podcast or Twitch format on Zoom? Word. How's Chad doing? What's up, ℙ𝕙𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚 gang? Frequent flyer, ℙ𝕙𝕚𝕚𝕚 gang. Wonder said I would, but I haven't had a question come to mind. Didn't realize we were starting early and made missed a bunch of what happened. Yeah, that's fine. We just talk about a bunch of stuff.
All right, so I have a question for the chat. This is not for Michael Kersey.
Yeah,
I've got a question for the chat. Was Jesus a victim? That is all.
Jesus is kind of a special case.
We're all Jesus, bro. We're all divine.
We're all divine, bro.
Jeez.
Thank you, ℙ𝕙𝕚𝕚𝕚 gang. We hope it is progress and not merely a random walk, or a random fly in this case.
Random walk? What's a random walk? I mean, I know what a random walk is in finance. But
It's the same thing. It's a wibble wobble. Just sort of directionless chaos.
but what is this? Yeah. But right, so like, I could actually talk about this whole subject for fucking ever because I think it's really fascinating. But we could talk about fashion instead. Fucking Kobe.
Kobe shirt. Oh, let me look at your shirt. Show me your shirt. Show me Kobe shirt.
Well, this is a if anybody knows the NBA, they should know what this is.
The what? Give me a take on graphic tees. When does it work?
It works when it's tasteful.
When is it tasteful?
When it's the fundamental concept of anything working within fashion is it comes down to cohesion. That it can't be all over the place. It can't be scattered. It needs to be cohesive within a concept. Now, fashion that is effective is creating the concept that is becoming cohesive. And this is why people find haute couture to be like very confusing a lot of the time, because a lot of the time it's not creating the concept for the cohesion to inhabit. That the concept that it's inhabiting is actually one that is kind of like one of jargon. It's this artistic jargon that it's inhabiting, that it's playing with, which is fine because that's what it's intended for. It's supposed to. It's not for you. That's why people find.
Oh, high fashion. You're talking about like that weird ass shit. You're talking about this crazy ass shit. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's haute couture. The thing about haute couture is it's not for most people.
Is that how you pronounce that? Is that how that is said?
Yeah. I mean, more. I'm not French, but yeah, sure.
I'm not French.
So
yes,
it's HAUTECOUTURE.
Right.
Haute couture. Anyway.
Let me just tell you, Soren, you can make hot people look really bad with bad clothes. That's my experience.
You can make them look worse. Yeah.
I mean, you do get leeway. If you're super hot, you get leeway. A lot more leeway.
Let me put some weight on this concept because a lot of people don't really understand it. And it's that cohesion is really important. I'm trying to fix my lighting here because my face looks really bright. Maybe it's because I'm getting oily. But that is about cohesion. And
yeah.
And cohesion, what that basically just means is that it's communicable. That what you're doing is communicable. And this is very, very easy with suits. It's very easy with white shirt and jeans. Take a fit person, put them in a white shirt that fits, put them in some nice raw denim and brown boots, and they will be hot every day of the week. Now, why is that? Right? If you really think about that, why is that? Well, it's because we have a concept of jeans. We have a concept of t-shirts. We don't think t-shirts are pajamas, right? We have a concept of brown boots as being affiliated with all these things, and it's actually such a simple outfit is actually deeply steeped in culture, right? Blue jeans are deeply steeped in culture, and the reason that person can be hot isn't only because of their physique, but it's also because these things are so simple that the communication is extremely clear. It's like telling a person I love you, but the I love you is not romantic, it's with fashion, right? And that's what you're doing with brown boots, blue jeans, white tee. But this is everything. Like, this is everything you're doing. Why am I wearing this shirt? Because it's not a button-up. I already did a nice button-up, and I want to do something that's a little bit interesting.
Right.
And not too stuffy. I'm not going to wear a fucking jacket in my bedroom, you know, like, so it's really about where you are. It's about context. It's about communication. And communicating in a cohesive way. If you read, if you watch television, this is all around you. And if you can't do it with fashion, it's because you have not explored the medium.
Word. So you're talking, you're sort of, I'm taking you to be focusing on, there's something of like a sense of a gestalt. It's kind of what that makes me think of.
Sure.
That it's, the cohesion is like when you take it all in all at once. You know, when you sort of average it with itself and don't hyper focus on the parts. What's the sense you get? Is that sort of what you're...
Sure. But the interesting thing about fashion is that it is a way of expressing yourself every day, right? Like, we have very few ways to do this, right? We do it with our words, we do it with like our writing online.
Mm-hmm.
But there are very few other ways that we express ourselves every day. Now, our haircut, for instance, we can do different hairdos, but our haircut is a limitation within our like the way we can express ourselves. And if we're dyeing our hair, then we are choosing to express ourselves in a certain kind of way for a certain period of time. So this is all temporal. And when you put it on an outfit, you're choosing the outfit for the day. And considering the temporal exercise of art is, I think, deeply personal.
Yeah.
And so we are, when we put on clothes for the day, we are painting with ink that will die in a day. That's what we're doing every day.
Ephemerality.
Yes, extremely ephemeral. Yes.
It's like those morning glories. You know, they born in the morning, die by night. I think that's how it works. I'm not a flower guy myself.
Sure. And it used to just simply be the case that you could buy a nice suit, and then if you owned a nice suit, then you were communicating your status in a very simple way, and you only had to make that choice maybe once a year. Now, especially in technology, people are wearing casual wear, and this has totally shifted the sartorial landscape in such a way that it's actually significantly more difficult for someone to communicate their taste and their style every day, because they now have a lot more choices. Instead of simply, I'm going to choose a tie or choose shoes, now they have to choose everything over and over again every day. And if they wear the same jacket 4 days a week, then suddenly they're perceived a certain way. And so we have this grand interaction, and it's kind of boring to talk about now because everybody's working from home unless you're me. But there's this communication that's going on that is kind of below a lot of people's awareness, but everybody actually experiences. That when you go anywhere and you're wearing clothes, there's a choice going on. And I think everyone's actually aware of it. They just may be less conscious of it than other people. Like there's some variety there.
Yeah, I think I like that way of looking at it. That it's sort of that there is a choice going on. It's kind of like you have some kind of intent with fashion, whether it's crafted or not. There's something kind of whether it's shaped or not, or whether it's polished or not. How has the pandemic life changed your relationship with fashion, Vec?
Well, it's stunted, I guess, because when I go to work, I get dirty, so I don't really dress up. I wear like a Nike dry fit polo and cheap jeans or chinos that I can throw away. You know, they're somewhat disposable, and I wear shoes that I don't want to ruin,
right?
Or rather that I'm willing to ruin because it's dirty. And I wear like boots and stuff. That all said, like the fact that it fits makes me, relatively high status. But I think that, personally, there's little to express here today as far as fashion is concerned, because I haven't really been giving anybody advice.
Yeah.
For some time. But there's lower demand, so I've just been exercising the whole fashion muscle less lately.
Yeah. I think for me, the biggest thing and this is kind of pandemic related, the biggest thing, like, sorry for victimizing you, Soren. I feel different and better when I wear good shit. I bought a couple T-shirts, honestly, because I was going to be doing Twitch streaming. I'm not wearing them right now, but like, there was a little something, to like, feel and fly. You know what I mean? When I hear Kanye West talk about his attitude about fashion, I'm always interested in it because it's very connected to his like drive to improve the world. Like he kind of has this vision of, I don't know how he expresses it. He talks about like, a little girl wearing his shoes and then she's the star of the show. That's like his phrase is one of the things he talks about. And he talks about kind of like classism and how like everyone should have access to like fly clothes basically. And it's interesting for me to see that kind of intention expressed through fashion, because it's not
surprising for him to express that given the price of his clothing. But go on.
Well, and he talks about that too, and I don't know, his clothes are expensive as fuck, right? Like it's super pricey stuff. He does talk about it, like, and I don't know if he changed his mind or what, but like in one of the interviews I was recently watching from like 2015, 2016, he's saying like, unfortunately, it's going to come out at first and it's going to be super expensive price point, but I want to make it available to everybody. So it could be he's doing the Tesla approach where you make I don't know what the Teslas are called, but you make the super pricey Tesla so that you can make the less pricey Tesla so you can make the less pricey, the accessible one,
I know what you mean.
I don't know if that's necessary.
But there's not a question there. Is there a question there? Are you asking me if I believe that's what he's doing?
No.
I mean,
there wasn't
I
a
could
question.
tell you a little bit about how this works. Like, why does Michael Kors have $200 handbags?
Sure.
Like, I know what that is. It's because it's a barbell. Like, all fashion is pretty much a barbell. Especially these big houses, and the bigger the houses get, the more barbell-y they need to be. Because the truth is that the top, what I'm saying, haute couture, that stuff doesn't actually make any money. Like, there's no profit there.
Right.
All this weird stuff that everybody's like, what is that? That's not making any money. That's losing money, like millions and millions of dollars every year.
Right.
They lose money doing that. And that's because they have to hire people that are exceptionally good, and they have to make these pieces that are exceptionally strange that don't actually have a lot of demand. And why are they doing this? It's actually to buoy the brand.
Right.
That Tommy Hilfiger was really, really mediocre for a really long time. I mean, for like a decade. And when they started doing some more interesting stuff and some interesting explorations, and they transformed the brand, they created value. This is fairly recent. But when you're looking at the Pradas and the Chanels and the Gucci's and Dior, which is, in my heart, Dior is as good as it gets, really. They just have excellent taste in designers. But when you're looking at these brands, Dior doesn't do the fashiony stuff. Like, they get to do the fashiony stuff because they make the money on the lower end. So the lower end needs to exist such that they can do the fun fashion stuff at the top, which makes their brand even more valuable, which sells the stuff at the bottom. So it's not one for the other, or one, like, it's both. They're interacting as a barbell system, and they need both in order to survive. Now, you do have these small brands like
Netflix.
Garments. Yeah.
It's like Netflix makes a couple ultra good things.
Right. But Kanye is not Chanel. Kanye is not Dior. Kanye is not Michael Kors. What Kanye is a small house, and the only way he can start to sell the cheap stuff is by creating a brand. And the only way you create a brand is to create a ruckus. So that's why he has to do what he's doing, which is you create enough ruckus and you can start selling the cheap shit. And then you can become bigger. But until then, you gotta just be loud and, obnoxious.
Kanye's great at.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Part of what's interesting to me is just that that ultra mega super select top tier, catwalk shit.
Yeah.
Like, what's your simple take on explaining why it doesn't look good?
Oh, yeah, it's because the context that they're playing with, and when they do this stuff, they're like pushing boundaries, right? It's kind of the ibuprofen that makes your headache go away isn't the same as like the biotechnology that the PhDs are pushing on the edge, right? So when you're looking at it in this academic way, right? When philosophers are doing something exciting, usually it's not accessible. And it's the same thing for fashion. The people that are doing things that are exciting they're not doing something that's accessible.
What I would want to know is,
100% of the time.
I believe that. I buy that. I get it. What I would want to know is, do you think that taste is like, I don't know really what the right language is for describing it, this would be, but it's like, do you think that it's like learning a thing that is very specific to what it is, but not like real? Like, it's sort of like with philosophy, like there's a truth of how the world is, and then the best philosophy will describe the world or whatever. Like,
Sure.
with the best, most bespoke, like weird mystical stuff, like there's transcendent states, and the stuff either gets you in the transcendent states or it doesn't. And then what is it with fashion, like with that ultra high tier thing? Like,
It's art.
is there an external standard, or is it just very? I guess it is very inherently social because it's fashion. You know, it's. What do you think about that?
When you look at what they're doing, it's very important to pay attention to who the audience is. That the audience for this stuff is not the people that accidentally come upon it on a Reddit thread that says, "What the fuck is this?" Right? That's not who it's for. It's for people that Chuck Palahniuk talks about how, like, writing is always an exercise of form. And that sounds strange to people that aren't writers, but for people that can write in their sleep, the only thing for them to express their art in is in the form. And when you get to this really high level of these artists that you go to MoMA or you go to these weird modern art museums, and they're not very accessible. They're not as accessible as these broader museums like the Met. And that's because they are interacting with a form that has an audience that is closer to the edge of the medium, right? So
Right.
when you see a toilet that's just a toilet and you call it art, and people are like, "That's not fucking art," the reason that they're saying that's not fucking art is part of the idea itself. Like, and as soon as you get closer to the edge, things are going to get more strange. And now you might see somebody with these really, really big shoulders of something nobody would ever reasonably wear,
Right.
but they're exploring something, right? And that's like a lot of, you see this in music all the time, right? That you can right now listen to some really, really weird music in a lot of different genres that's just on the edge. And like, if I show you some of the hardcore stuff or something like the screamo that I listen to, for a normal person that doesn't listen to that stuff, it would be completely incomprehensible. But for me, I have all the stones walking myself there that I could say, oh, it's like this band, or it's like this band, or it's like this band. And now I can understand it within the spectrum of what it is. And the important thing is to see that this fashion, where they have this unibrow and these huge shoulders,
Right.
and these shorts that are skin tight or whatever, and for you, you're like, that's not attractive. But what that is actually everything we do, everything we're participating with. That if Mozart walked into our era, it wouldn't just be that the music is strange. He would just think he was surrounded by freaks, right? And we're all doing the freakish things. It's just that the true artists are exploring the boundaries of things, and it's freakish to us because we're not there yet. And maybe we'll never go there. They're exploring the boundaries of where we can go.
So, okay, so what you're saying is people in that world actually do like the shit because they like what it's doing, or what boundary it's testing, or something.
Look at horror movies, right? Horror movies aren't things that people want to do, or it's not things people want to have done to themselves. So this isn't necessarily clothing that people want to wear,
Right.
but they are expressing something. So the question is, can that thing evoke a concept, or is it connected? If it's not connected culturally, or if it's not connected within fashion, then it's not really doing its job. It's actually just completely nonsense. And this is why people can be kind of like beyond their time or whatever, like that people credit people for, but it's actually just a lack of finesse. Because you need to interact with a real audience always.
Interesting. Well, I hope you do some more threads on this stuff. Or any threads? Have you done any fashion threads? I haven't seen you doing it.
Not really. I haven't really done it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting stuff.
I'm glad you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
Fool Jeff does too.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said it.
Here's the thing: is like when I got into college, I was surrounded by people that were into Magic the Gathering, and I didn't know anything about Magic the Gathering.
Nerds.
So
Yeah.
I read every single card they ever printed. Every single card.
Right.
I mean, this took me a long time.
Right.
Like, I looked at every single card they ever printed.
Right.
And that's not how I started playing. That's just how I got an idea for what Magic was.
Right.
And then I started playing. Then I got a deck. So that's what I actually did with fashion. Like, I just looked at everything.
Right.
And I would look for that salience. Be like, what is this doing inside of me? And I did that for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And that just gives me, like, it doesn't mean I like everything. It just gives me an understanding of what's going on.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I do a thing like this when I'm actually trying to learn any new area, I guess. But, like, I do it with history and stuff, where a thing will happen with studying history where there are things that I understand better and things I don't understand as well. And, for example, I'm not as good at the economic side of a lot of historical stuff. And
Sure.
I sometimes just need to hear...
No one is, by the way.
So, some people make a good show of it anyway. I need to hear, 80 statements about the gold standard and all this different stuff before I start putting together a picture. Or just do a lot of case studies is sort of a way I do it. It's just you got to get the data. So it makes sense to me that you would do that with MTG or fashion or whatever. I
guess it's about finding the boundaries so that you can improvise with them in them. There's that word again. But so we got P asking me, what's GSM gamma squeeze? I don't know what that is, GSM gamma squeeze. So you're gonna have to tell me what that is.
Is that a Magic thing?
I don't know. Could be. I don't know. I haven't played Magic, for the record. It's since like 2009, so I'm a little bit out of the loop. It's cool that your friend won Magic the Gathering. He's talking about GME short squeeze. Oh, maybe that's what he means. Yeah, maybe he means no. Yeah, maybe.
Oh, the GameStop. GameStop.
Oh, so what's my interpretation of that? Short squeezes happen, and it's fun. Because we think of the shorters as bad people. So it's then us versus them. And the fact that it's Reddit and not like a hedge fund makes it way more personable and relatable. The fact that it's like us, we're doing it, and it's not like some hedge fund brew. That fact just makes it like really exciting. And I think if it wasn't Reddit, I think if it was just like a dude in a hedge fund, it wouldn't be nearly as exciting as it is. But the fact that it's a bunch of Bernie-esque bros, just individual, grassroots dudes that are working a 9-to-5, that are, squeezing the short sellers, I think it's pretty magical.
WTMMP did it.
See, people say billions of dollars down the drain. It's not down the drain. It's just in somebody else's pockets. The money just moves. It's just moving around. That's all it does.
Some kind of conservation principle.
Sort of.
At play here.
I mean, not 100%, but yes. The Federal Reserve could destroy money if they did so, please. Actually, it would be the Treasury, I guess.
Hey, Fool Jeff feels like he understands fashion better now.
Yeah, it's just a way of expressing yourself. It's a type of art. It's the kind of art. It's like This Is Water, which I'm like incessantly referencing, but it's like it's the water we're swimming in and we don't even realize it.
Word. I do have a friend who paid a bunch for fashion. It was sort of paid somebody to just buy all the clothes and help him try him on and give him feedback and ask him to
Sure.
assess how he looked, and he looked way better afterwards, and I think it was just money well spent. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I could do that. Like, I know how clothes should fit, but
Well, and where to shop
I don't
and what
even know
types
where
of
to-
items even compose a wardrobe, and
like, did he just go on Craigslist? Like, how did he find this guy?
I don't know, someone in our extended group of people. I mean, he was very happy. I mean, he was very happy with the outcome, and a lot of dudes are just really hate it and like
Hey, what?
shopping
Sure.
basically, thinking about it, you know.
Yeah, it's, they don't want to fix their own car. They don't want to do the plumbing in their house. It's not their bag.
They're not victims.
That's going to be the theme.
Yeah.
Theme for the show. That's fine. I dig it.
One of several. Word. Well, all right. Let's give our last call for a final caller.
Sure.
So if somebody wants to grab that, they may. Otherwise, I am thinking I do kind of like this format for the future. There's something interesting about it because I was a little
having
bit.
the option is good.
It's interesting because I like having the option. I was imagining this being like too many people in chat and it would be hard to like get everybody in. And maybe that'll happen someday. But having a couple people call in is kind of cool because it adds a little flexibility to the structure, and it's sort of interesting to me. Sort of as far as my own exploration here goes with figuring out what the hell this podcast should. God damn it! I keep calling it's not a podcast; it's a talk show.
Indeed.
What this talk show should be. Yes, Malty, we loved having you call in. When is someone to call in and curse your ancestors while screaming expletives? We wait for that day, and when they come, I will be ready. I will be ready. What were you saying, Beckman?
Probably nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing of importance.
Anything else
But
you wanted to chat about? Any other thoughts or questions or something you want to do?
I guess was Jesus a victim?
It doesn't seem like the right concept to apply, so I'm going to have to say no.
Right.
I think no.
And then when you explore why, and then you think of
Because
what divinity is.
because
Think about divinity.
because Jesus of all 120 billion humans who have ever existed was astronomically high on the dimension of like self-ownership and governance of one's own destiny. So, but
Did he redefine what being self-defining meant? Or was he just exceptionally high in degree? See what I'm saying?
you're saying is it a matter of degree or like a qualitative difference? Something like
So
that.
Jesus is supposedly more God than we are, right?
Right. So the story goes.
Yeah. But I don't think that's necessarily true.
Well, I don't even
Like-
know if that's how the story goes. I don't know nearly enough about theology to make a comment like that.
Theology is not a thing that exists.
It's not a
You
what?
know what I mean? Like, it's not a thing that exists. It's just created through the negotiation of certain ideas with an old text with whom everybody's dead that ever wrote it. So, like it.
You're talking to
There's no-
somebody who loves texts by old dead people. And
Yeah. But my point is, there's no like theological consensus. Like, I don't think that exists.
uh-huh.
That everything is just like circumspect.
I'm going to try to land this plane, by the way. Try to get us down on the ground. This is a really short runway, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Jesus is like you can't ask anything about divinity without being wrong. If you try and answer it, right? And that actually gets to something really valuable. That if you think about the fact that like you're not really allowed to answer any questions about Jesus' divinity without being wrong. If you really boil that down and apply that to everything, you will be more correct more of the time.
Something strange has happened here.
Yeah, well, you seem to be invincible.
Yeah, I did turn that on.
These trees are also invincible.
The landing was smooth, but will it ever occur? I don't want to stop on the trees. Let's just keep driving.
There's no friction.
Let's just keep driving. Rip trees. Oh, damn, we hit a little house or something. Well, you're home. We hit some dude's house. All right, man. Microsoft Tree Ghost Simulator. Let's zoom out for a little.
But I think Via Negativa is probably a better approach.
What is it?
It's instead of saying like what God is, it's saying what he's not.
Okay, right. I've heard that phrase.
But I think it's a better approach. But I think that person needs to start with God not as like an idea of a dude, but I think one needs to think of God as the truth. And then if you think about God as the truth and you use Via Negativa, you will, at the end of that, be way closer to God than if you start about what's true about what God says in the Bible in an objective sense. Or the Bible could be the Mahabharata or whatever your text is.
So you do have theological opinions.
I have a lot of theological. Sure.
What are you drinking, by the way? I didn't ask you.
This is water.
Agua.
This is a tiny bit of Coke and whiskey.
Cheers, man.
What are you drinking? What beer is that?
Warsteiner. German Pilsner. Das einzig war. I don't know if I said that right. Huh?
I love beer, man, but keto doesn't let it be.
Yeah, keto. I've been there, dude. I've definitely been there.
Anyway, I'm gonna go.
Yeah,
this
dude.
is a good place. We're slowly subtracting from the Earth plane.
Just trying
So
to
is my mind.
gaze out all over all of it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go die and be reborn in the morning.
Yeah, man.
As is the way.
Sounds good. Everybody, thank you for coming by. All of our callers, this was awesome. Vulgar Free Malty,
Thanks for hanging
Soren,
out.
Full Jeff. I think it was you four. New people, old people, frequent flyers, new riders. We're glad to have you all. I had a wonderful evening. Thank you, Vectin. Thank you, Becoming Critter, for coming by. Everybody follow this dude on Twitter. Follow my Twitch channel. Listen to his podcast. We're looking forward to your next stuff, Vectin.
Oh, it's gonna be hot. Let me tell you.
It's gonna be hot.
When I'm in these interviews, I'm like, what is going on? It's exciting.
All right, everybody. Good night.
Love y'all.